The Earth is very flat.
What's going on, everybody? It is, I almost had the time, Thursday, August 26, 2021. This is Brandon, host of Brandon's Show. Welcome. It is Shawn Hawkins Appreciation Night. If you guys are unfamiliar with Shawn Hawkins, I feel sorry for you. He is one of the greatest comedians of our age, has a small but loyal cult following on the internet, and he's been feeling very, very left out lately. So I thought we would show him some love. And of course, Shawn, if you're out there, we would, of course, be honored to have you grace us with your presence. So please stop in. But anyway, we've got a server full of people and some surprising guests tonight that you'll hear from soon. Who knows where the conversation goes today? It might end up somewhere on the moon, talking about a certain crater. I don't know. Hopefully not for too long, but we'll see. Anyway, let's see what we got in chat. Logan's Run, page 42, Brandon Cook, Ian Adams, PJ Cruikshank, Cleary, Arwen, Gadget Inspector, scrolling. You guys been busy? Shit. Alexander Lightwater, Bill G says sound is good. Thank you very much. Flat Earth Data, Rob Keane, and PJ was first tonight. Yo. Gordzilla says $5. I can't appreciate Shawn, but I do appreciate you, Brandon. Thank you very much, Gordzilla. I know you do, and I appreciate you too. Thank you. Pete Shea, Bill G says. Now, why would you say that, Bill? That's a strange guess. Oh, we'll see. Anyway, I mentioned a possible debate with Ranty or Ruhif. Looks like neither of those are going to work out. So, well, I was putting some material together for those, and we'll probably talk about those next week. But so far, I have not been able to organize a debate with either one of them. They both kind of fell through, so is what it is. Anyway, oh, there's Shawn. He says he's blocked on the channel. Oh my God, that is so awful. But he's commenting in the Discord, so I don't know how that's possible. Anyway, let's go see what's going on in the Discord.
Conduit is the body that you were designed to live in. And that reality was manifested through the process of going through the experience of being a human being, right? So if you talk about the divide, there's no divide. You create the union. You're given the opportunity to create a union, and with that knowledge, you can with that knowledge pre-given to you, that information that's there, you can use that information to actually create whatever life you want. And that's the gift. So it's this divide thing doesn't make sense. It's more of building.
Information can be carried.
First of all, I agree with nearly everything you said, man.
Information can be carried. You are a bucket. Things are buckets.
I can't hear you. What?
I said, first of all, I agree with nearly everything you said, but when it comes back to this basic, if there's a unification, there has to be a divide in play to begin with. And what is that divide?
No, it's not. It can't be a divide. It can't be a divide because it's created out of a union, right? And through the process.
Okay.
You know, everything is about a union. You become a union with God, your creator. You become a union with your wife. You're part of your. Yeah, it's not a divide.
Yes, but right? Hang on. So, hang on, man.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey. We are live now on YouTube.
When you pull memory off
it's a union.
We can get back to that in just a minute.
What are you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys? We are live on YouTube now. What's going on? Sorry to interrupt. Welcome to the show. It is 5:10 p.m. So the live show has started. We've got a bunch of people on the panel, 26. Tonight, some of you may or may not know, is Shawn Hawkins Appreciation Night. So if anybody has any story or a funny anecdote about Shawn Hawkins, we can discuss that. He's been feeling very sad and lonely and depressed lately. So I thought we would, talk about our experiences with him and how he's affected us in our life. We'll see how that goes. But please, we have a big panel tonight. So please limit your mic time. Be considerate of the rest of the panel. Keep it short, concise, and share the mic, please. And try not to interrupt. Interrupting is one thing that will get you muted on a consistent basis, although we all interrupt sometimes. Anyway, so how's everybody doing tonight?
Very good.
Good, Brandon. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? I see we have a long lost friend in the house, J. Swiss Dodo, Pete Shea himself. What's up, Pete?
Hey Brandon, how you doing, man? Je suis dodo is the correct pronunciation, but maybe you didn't study French to any degree.
I did not. No, you're right about that.
Okay, no worry. You don't have to be sorry. I mean, we look at things and we do the best we can with the lingo. I'm called Je suis dodo for a very specific reason. The dodo leads to Aristarchus. Different story. I never had an issue with you. My issue was with Ranty and what how he treated me, and that was okay. So I welcome your invitation back, and yeah, thanks. Let's see how the conversation goes. I certainly have a lot to say, Brandon. So if there isn't too much censorship, and I'll keep an eye on the mic time as well. Probably go on mute a lot for the first night, but thanks for the invite back, and yeah, have a good one.
Yeah, good to have you back, Pete. Always good to talk to you. All right, so Shawn Hawkins Appreciation Night. Does anybody have anything that they want to say about Shawn Hawkins?
Yes.
Anybody have a story or
Yes.
an amusing
I have a story
anecdote?
about him.
Yeah,
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yeah?
Can you hear me? It's
Yeah.
Rob. Yeah, hey, Shawn Hawkins needs a sandwich.
We'll
You
get
can't
him a
mention
sandwich.
Hawkins
Shawn, we
without
got you,
mentioning
buddy.
full artist.
Who has a story? Was that Fed?
Yeah, so basically I was debating Rumpus, and Rumpus was bringing up his wonderful orthographic drawings of curvature, and because Discord would have a hiccup when you joined, sometimes you would join, but you wouldn't be able to hear other people that have joined into the same channel, right? There'd be like a glitch or whatever. So while me and Rumpus are discussing and arguing, I can't hear Shawn Hawkins at all, right? He's joined to the chat, but I can't hear him. Rumpus can hear him, but I can't hear him. And Rumpus and I keep talking like Shawn doesn't exist. And I think there's a video out there that was highlighted by Riley there, because all you can hear is just Shawn screaming over over me and Rumpus, right? So it's pretty funny. I think the video still exists, but it's because I couldn't hear him. So he screamed like, yeah, it was pretty funny.
Oh,
It's worth a watch again for sure.
Yeah, get us that link. I'll share it with the audience. Another fine moment from Shawn Hawkins. Well, I'll tell my story. I put out a video a while back where I made voices. It was a joke of a military commander talking to his underling on the front line with bombs and bullets and everything else going off in the background, helicopter noise, and saying that they were getting defeated by flat Earth, and they had to just go and tell the whole world, and it was time for disclosure. And Shawn, he thought that I was serious and made a series of videos calling me a liar and that I've sunk to the bottom of the barrel and flat Earth has no evidence. I thought that was very, very amusing. Good stuff. You can find those on my other channel, Brandon Toy, if you want to check those out. They're pretty funny.
I just remember Shawn from Dreads and Bro Sanchez is from way back when he was a flat earther.
Shawn Hawkins was a flat earther?
Hold on. You talking about Shawn Hawkins,
Wait, what?
the surveyor, the land surveyor?
No, I'm talking about Shawn Hawkins Squawkins. The guy who's always in chat telling you how stupid you are. He's always good for that. Shawn, he'll always be there to tell you how stupid he thinks you are. That's for sure.
Didn't he cry on a stream about losing a bunch of money?
Yeah, on a mount. There's a series of about 10 videos out there of him trying to get an EQ mount to work. I think it was an EQ mount. And he got all these people to help him and then gave up and said he was going to sell the mount because it was faulty. Essentially cry.
Well, it ain't making content, for YouTube and stuff like that, getting views and, subscribers and stuff. And this, flat earth community is relatively small. I've said to myself that I want to watch, the Globers and stuff like that and look at their material to see what their arguments are, beyond what I've heard about this or that from the globe. But it's just so hard. I'm just sold out to the flat earth so much, and I have so much red pill to digest otherwise, between MK Ultra, conspiracies and stuff like that. There's a lot in there in the shuffle. But I'll have to check it out.
Well, it is hard to swallow the blue pills down, isn't it? Lemon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, anybody else have any stories? Shawn's feeling pretty low, so we want to make sure that just like he makes all of us feel wonderful and all the great interactions we have with him, that he doesn't feel too lousy.
Is he
I was
dead or
talking about
something?
Sean G. I was talking about Sean G. If that's
No,
the
not
same
Shawn
I-
G. No.
Right.
Sean's cool.
I was saying, Shawn Hawkins, is he dead or something? Did he get accidentally attached to an anchor and dragged to the bottom of the sea?
No, he's not dead.
If he has COVID or something, fuck off.
COVID.
Based
What's
off
that?
his video,
you know
he's
what?
wondering if he should continue with the content or not, because of the whole, view thing and all
Okay.
that.
The poor
Every
guy
time
put
I
on a
take
live
Brandon,
stream last night,
Brandon,
and yeah.
I just want to commend you on your thumbnail.
Yeah, thank you. I found that image online. Thought it was a pretty good one to use. Appreciate that.
His selling point was Polaris, always Shawn Hawkins. Polaris. When you take him seriously, then, and try to get him to understand or to even think in different terms. So a flat or stationary Earth, Polaris being a near star, because you see, Brandon, you have to work your way through this sort of logically, intellectually, but you cannot have both. You cannot have a ball Earth, first of all, a rotund Earth, and near stars. They have to be far away stars, and you cannot have a flat Earth and distant stars. So it's either one or the other. So both are tied in intrinsically because of our everyday experience, observational experience. And Shawn Hawkins, what is the point of dealing with him after that? He can never place himself on the ladder in terms of, potential. Polaris almost must be 429 years away, and on a ball Earth. You just can't go with it.
Light years, Pete. Light years.
This is it. What are you going to do there? You can't do anything there with someone like that, and that's why Shawn is probably worn out at this stage.
Well, look, Shawn, you're not
stuck in the
getting the
same spot.
attention from the Globers that you want, that you need. You can tell I cared because I put this quasi benefit on for you.
Yeah,
You
we
should switch
want you on
sides.
our side.
Yeah, come across the aisle. Come on, Shawn. Join us. We'll watch your videos. Just, you've already heard Gleam's explanation for your Polaris thing. Just adopt that. Say you had a change of heart and life will be a lot better. You'll feel better, man. Be able to keep food down again and sleep at night and shit.
And shit.
All right. I'm
He's
sorry,
all
guys.
blocked up with Polaris.
But Shawn, if you want to come on and tell us about Polaris, you were saying that, when you waited on your live stream and no one joined after an hour and a half, that you were upset that no one wanted to listen to your Polaris proof. We're happy to hear it and hear what you think about Polaris. The show's always open. It's an open panel, man. Come on in and join. You don't have to sit out and chat talking about how stupid we are for 16 hours a day. You can actually talk to us. Just a thought, but the door's open.
Well, fuck me, Brandon. I thought Shawn Hawkins was dead and you were talking through a spirit box there for a minute.
Oh no, he's hanging in there.
Yeah, he's all right.
It's okay.
Oh, shit. Oh, my God. The PMAR sock is back in YouTube. Fuck me. I knew that was going to be
We've
cool.
exchanged a few choice words, but I just try to keep it flat. The sold out Globers, Glober's gonna globe, Flatty's gonna flat. Is what it is.
That's it. Yeah, it's all fun. But we are actually trying to figure things out. Some of us are actually trying to figure out what's going on in the world. But that's okay.
Yeah, we want to
Everybody
know
has
what
their
the
own
people who
motives for being here.
What do you reckon, Brandon? We want to know what the people who know. What do you reckon Alex Jones really knows, or Joe Rogan? They're not fucking dumb. Honestly,
Well, first
though,
of all,
not
Pete,
dumb.
I only met Alex Jones one time, just once. I didn't have any other interaction. The only time I talked to him was on air. I have no fucking clue what he knows, and Joe Rogan knows how many zeros his paychecks have and what he has to say because of that. That's about all he knows, in my opinion. But
It got to be more than that, man. We can't.
Wouldn't they just be litmus tests, really?
No,
When you think about it.
Man.
No, I'm not discredited. But as far as what I mean by litmus test, I can't even say the word now. Litmus test is that you're gauging your audience flow of curiosity and intrigue, right? So if you have a population sort of waning in, I guess direction or interest, you kind of corral it, don't you? I mean, when you look at Google Trends, Google Trends is a self-evident tool that presents an idea to make money based on interests and values, right? So, these feelings that we have of what we know wane, and we change philosophy and positions, right?
Yeah,
all the time. So how do we make money on that and capitalize on it? So you got to put out these little, not intentional agents, but maybe willful idiots, right? For instance, if you're like a philanthropist,
this is the life of real human beings, and whatever our true nature, these people are more sort of let in on the greater secrets to one degree or another, whatever way they come across them. No matter about money, ultimately. I want to know, Brandon was just saying, I want to know, what do these people know? We come away from Ball Earth thinking, and you come to surely understand that, okay, the Ball Earth was never a reality, and it's all a crafted story. So what is the truth? And you want to ultimately know, well, who are the truth holders? Where are the keys? We're led to the Rothschilds, or which is a very good clue as well, by the way. The Rothschilds in 1907 commissioned a what do you call it, a picture of the dodo, which is probably one of the most encoded images in existence, would you believe? But that's a different story. But these people are the front and center presentations to us. What lies behind that? This is the question that we have to ask, I think. Unless you're happy with, our mind is free. We're limited in a real sense. How many people can be influenced by our mind? How long does it take our mind straight? But you know what I mean. We're free to examine for the first time, I guess. Maybe not the first time. We have the internet.
Yeah, we can share ideas, across the
exactly
across the world. No, I get what you're saying, Pete, but I also get where data's coming from. Because think about this: you've got all these people out there saying their opinion. Whoever it is, there's fucking hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people on the internet making little shows like this or doing their opinion, whatever their interests are. So I'm the controllers. All I have to do is go out there, find people that align with what you want to push, and just push a little bit of money their way. They don't have to be let in on shit. Like Data said, they could be willful idiots, like Neil deGrasse Tyson. He could be just such fucking true blue believer. He believes in this shit, and they're like, "Well, this guy's a true blue believer. He fits the part."
Yeah, but he could be, but he's not. Come on.
Well, I haven't listened to enough of him to know if he's got shill tendencies or if he's.
Of course, he's not, because he can't entertain the opposing point of view, which is so simple to entertain: a flat and a stationary Earth. Flatness extends from the stationary aspect. The rotundity extends from the dynamics that the Earth, the ground we're on, because we look at the world around us. Remember, your brain is Einstein's brain. All our brains are the same. We get back to the core questions. Something is moving, so we got to decide what it is. Well, if you decide immediately from the outset that the Earth beneath us is moving, well, that leads you in a certain direction, inexorably, I would say, which is, well, ultimately Big Bang, right? Everything coming from nothing. Multiple universes.
I'd say
possibility.
Neil deGrasse is playing his own part, like a script reader. That's just a part of Neil deGrasse.
Yeah, it could be. It very well could be. I'm just saying there'd be plenty of opportunity to find people who believe in
Oh, yeah.
what you want to push, where you wouldn't have to
Definitely.
make up actors, because the less people you have to let in on the fucking truth, the better off you are. You know, the less loose strings you have and shit.
That wouldn't
Right?
work, Brandon. That wouldn't work, because if you think about the returning Ball Earth antagonists, Maddie in the panel here is a massive panel. Whatever's going on in chat. But you know, when you think about all these people are returning again and again, they're exposed to many great ideas and great sort of stumbling blocks in a sense. You know, it's not as if this is going to affect them. And if it's all about the money, eventually their conscience will get to them. It needs must, it has to, because there's something innate inside in us, knowing that we're something different. We all just strive for peace and love. All of us, Hitler included. That's what I reckon anyway. None of us are guilty in a sense. It's just the circumstances we're born into. And maybe everyone has to play a very specific role ultimately if we accept that there's a greater, higher power in play. Do you know what I mean? So there has to be more than that. You can sell out for so much, you can sell out for so long, but there's so many people hurt by this existence. Isn't there really? When you think about what needn't be, as opposed to what we perceive as what is, actually. I'm not sure it's
Right, like
half as bad
information
as what we think.
or intelligence. Yeah, like information and intelligence. Those two questions.
Yeah, I get what you guys are saying. Science of Science 499. Hawkins is one of the best, worst trolls I have ever met. High praise from the Science of Science. Shout out. Anyway, open panel, guys. Open discussion. You know, if anybody else has any stories about Shawn Hawkins, feel free to tell us. But we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. What's the hot topic today? Huh?
Information and intelligence. What is it? I said Shawn Hawkins wears good earrings.
Does he? He has pierced ears?
I think
I don't know.
that-
I don't even know. I don't know.
I think when you're building when you have a transmission and you want somebody to receive that transmission, you have to build a receiver, right? So that receiver is our eye, our lungs, right? Our skin, our senses, our nervous system is the receiver,
going
right?
along the brain, and then the electrical continuity would be the intelligence or the thing that carries whatever said information. Because like when you have a chip and you plug it into your computer or my computer, I can record your shit, take it out, and then put it into mine. Now I have the information that came from that computer into this computer. So it has to be electrical continuity being stored and exchanged. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the person building the human body, or who built the human body, would understand how to receive the information, right?
It can be received both
so.
ways, remote or direct.
Well, if you're if you're in charge of the transmission and you're the maker of the transmission, then it would be, you know, nobody's not gonna. How is somebody gonna receive that? It's going to be through, like, we had to learn how to receive the transmission, right? Like the different frequencies in the field array that's around us.
No. You don't know.
Light frequency or sound frequency or magnetic.
Like a thought in your head, you wouldn't know if it's being implanted, pushed, or pulled.
Like,
you know, I've heard that before, that it's possible. I don't know if that's.
then we could never know
if
who
you
we
wouldn't
are,
know. I
right?
mean, intrusive thoughts. I guess I don't know if I can ever say that I've had something I would think of as an intrusive thought.
All I'm saying is, if I made a radio, I can send a signal to it, as well as receive a signal from it. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to get you guys like too boggled down like Demox fucking ball or something.
Well,
No, but I get what Flat Earth Data is saying, or what you're saying, DMOC, is people who build computers, you always build it so it can talk to the other computers. You can upload information, download information, right?
Right. That computer is stored. It's stored on a metal, a plastic, a crystal, whatever. So the storing devices can be pretty much anything. They can hold electrical continuity.
Yeah.
You have a
Good
core.
point.
You have a core acting center. We have a core flat Earth core, right? We have
right. Well, somebody asked me what information is, and that's why.
Let me ask you to consider this, right? As everything is divided, we live in a divided state of being, externally and internally. What we take is natural. I'm not saying, anyone who hasn't heard me before, I'm not saying that what I'm saying is fucking true and nothing but the true, but I'm just saying this is where I'm at. Divided state without, and that transfers to the divided state within. And that's what we have to come to terms with. Have you considered?
It's
It's easy to
alternation.
consider. Let me say. Remember, I mentioned earlier on about the threefold division. It's easy to consider the division, mirroring of your female or male counterpart back to yourself. How you interconnect that yourself. That's your own business. What picture you come up with? I'd love to see your picture, Dem. Honest to God, I would. Honest to God. Now that's external, right? Now the internal division, we can see the mirroring down our center line. Now the other division, this is what I'm saying, on the other axis is in a different form, or just for you to consider, and it's pretty fucking easy to consider. I'll tell you in two ways, and then I'll shut up. When we look at our gut, it's an untanglement of our brain, right? So, but when we think of our brain as well, we have a hemisphere, left hemisphere, right hemisphere. As far as I remember, a hemisphere and a hemisphere add up to a sphere. And if I was to lay my brain out on the table, I wouldn't be here talking. First of all, I'd be here, but I wouldn't be talking. But yeah. But second of all, if I think about this divided state and I add a female counterpart brain to my brain, fold it into one another, I get a nice little pod, which you could describe as a sphere. So that's something to consider, isn't it? So if this division, actually, brilliant point. If this division is recognized, first of all, and those reconnections, those wires reconnected, reorganized, not in an ISS style, you know, where everything is fucking anywhere. If you fart, imagine you sharted on the ISS and a bit of your shit went up into the local circuitry that's hanging everywhere. Because what's the chance of sharting, Brandon? You're fucking going around at 70,000
It's going to happen. It's bound to be someone's going to shart on the ISS. I think that's a brilliant point.
Hole blown, not only in the side of the ISS, but in your arsehole as well.
Especially when you got to aim your butthole at that thing, that weird toilet that they've got, right? So you're like standing. That's bound to get messy. I just can't see that working out right every time.
Actually, you know, the true story, remember they said there was a little hole in the ISS and he filled it with his thumb, which is actually a big clue for us. Thumb is to be found at the center of every QWERTY keyboard if you look for it. THUMB in an X. An elongated X, a stretched out X, which is very significant. Everything is reversed as well. So what word do you get? I'd be impressed with anyone who can figure out the word close as you can when you reverse thumb. But yeah, imagine the real story was, actually, it was a much bigger hole and his thumb wouldn't fill the gap, so he had to shove his arse. Oh, that's Scott Kelly. His wife, her head was nearly blown off. He was in space while his arse was nearly blown out, sucked out.
What the Oh, fuck, Pete. Oh, man. So what the hell have you been up to for the last 8 or 9 months, Pete? What's been going on?
Oh, man, I hope people got my joke there, because remember they said there was a big mini fucking projectile and they had to fill the gap with their thumb. But anyway, that's a different matter. Well, no, don't get me started there, man. Don't get me started there.
I got it, Pete. Don't worry. I got it, Pete. I was with you, Pete.
Nice one. I mean, but remember Gabby Giffords and the GG with her head almost blown off.
Do we really think she got shot in the head?
That's right. Well, she didn't really, but she did, according to the story.
I gotta say, that interview with her afterwards, her and her husband. Now, listen, if she did, that's fucking awful. I feel so bad, blah, 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 blah. But that interview afterwards where, you know, it does seem like she's pretending, like she's doing a bad acting job.
Disgusting.
Whether or not she was really affected like that by that and really went through that, I don't know. But that
all
just
the world
seems
is
like
a
she's
stage.
acting.
Yeah. Hey,
Just
Brandon,
like Shawn Hawkins.
Hey, Brandon, imagine someone came up to you and said, well, look, we'll give you 10 grand if you can do your very fucking best impression of Stephen Hawkins. Or maybe 50 grand. You'd go away and you'd lose a lot of weight, right? And you'd fucking squeeze into a wheelchair. You do a Daniel Day-Lewis on My Left Foot. If you don't know what that movie is, maybe you can look it up. But you'd do your best impression.
Classic.
I always had it's a hilarious thought. You know, Stephen Hawkins arrives on the stage and you get all the talk. I reckon the minute they're off the stage, the guy hops up out of the wheelchair, drives back in his Range Rover back to his ranch and fucks his young blonde wife and has a great time.
Jesus Christ, Pete. Hey, Gleam. I like that one.
That's in my brain. I can easily imagine it.
Salute.
Remember, I think Will Smith plays Barack Obama.
Oh, shit. We'll save that
I
for
miss
later.
you.
No one else has ever said that outside me. Will Smith.
No, no
Always
one's
been
ever
the only
said
black
that.
man.
That is a one of a kind claim for sure.
No one else has ever talked about Aristarchus as well the way I do, Brandon. And the dodo.
No, I would have to investigate that person, and I would immediately think they were associated with you as in some way. But hey, Gleam, I wanted to ask you, since it is Shawn Hawkins Appreciation Night, if you
Yeah.
have any stories. I know you've had
course.
quite a few dealings with the man, the legend.
Yeah, you come to the right person. I've got novels on him. Let me just give you two quick ones. Forget the Polaris thing, but two quick ones. The very first time I met Shawn, he'd done a video on me immediately. Within, must have been a day of speaking to me in the chat of somewhere. And he'd done a video of me saying that I scared him, or sorry, I was scared of him so much that I deleted 8 flat Earth videos on my channel. And now I said to him, no, I didn't. Now, I don't want to bring this up or go into it, but somebody from the Globe Earth side was contacting me on another platform when they shouldn't have. And I took down videos that I had on my YouTube of me and my son playing football. Yeah, so it was like all my children's videos. And literally, he put out this big long rant saying, Gleam's a liar, he's scared of me, he doesn't want to debate me, la la la, and all this. And I was in the chat as well, live. And I was like, Shawn, shut up, mate, give me 2 seconds. And I literally posted, once the video had ended, it posted, and I posted screenshots of my son's videos in, you know when you can see it in your own YouTube dashboard.
Yeah.
And you can see it as this is hidden and when it was hidden, and it showed a list. And I've only got 4 videos live, but I've got probably about 16 videos that I've ever put up there, and it showed them all. And I said, look, at the end of the day, where's the flat Earth ones? You know what I mean? I haven't got any flat Earth videos because I don't make flat Earth videos. That simple. And I think he reluctantly actually done another video saying, yeah, I was wrong about Gleam, I made a tit of myself. And then ever since then, it's an annual occurrence. We should make this a Shawn Hawkins Day, because he does the same thing over and over again. As I say, with the Polaris thing, I'm not going to go through that, but all he basically said is, I've debunked your trigonometry. And I goes, okay, Shawn, what is a tan mean? What does the function tan mean? And he goes, oh, well, I never said I knew trigonometry, but I've debunked yours. And I've literally got him saying that as a screenshot as well. It's hilarious. However, how he debunked it, because he's this smart, is you must have seen it, but in any Polaris maths, if you're going to represent every single degree on one particular graph, what you would do is you would put every single degree from your zenith to your horizon, which is 90 degrees. Yeah. And because I'd put in columns in Excel 90 down to 0, he said, I've debunked your maths because there is 90 Polarises here. And that's it. Literally, you go and watch his videos of me, and it's hilarious. And what's even more hilarious is he makes this model. It's made out of wood dowling and cardboard, and it's bent everywhere. His angles to Polaris and whatnot are just bending left, right, and centre. I was like, you've got a bend in space wood time there, or something like that, space dowling time. But anyway, so the most recent one though is the best one, and I love this one because this is the only reason why I'm in this, Brandon. Yeah, is stories like this. And I'm going to tell them my grandkids, and I don't care what my kids are saying about it, but I'm going to tell my grandkids later on. But Shawn Hawkins, literally, you must have seen this yourself on Rachie 50. She put up a clip of Shawn basically laughing at a flat earther saying that there is plasma in a ring laser gyro. I don't know whether anyone see that, but that's what happened. And I went straight in the comment section saying, no, you're wrong. And there's 2 or 3 people in the comment section laying into me thick, saying, "No, you're an idiot. They're not plasma anymore. They're all lasers. They're all laser diodes." Which, yeah, I agree with to an extent. However, the funniest thing about it all is it all got dragged up again a month later or something. And I was like, oh, for God's sake, let me give them some citations of where these plasma Heaney, basically, ring laser gyros exist and are in use. So, turns out that the top 2 geodetic observatories that measure the rotation of the Earth are done using Heaney plasma-based ring laser gyros. So not only is Shawn Hawkins laughing and denying that, he's literally basically saying, yeah, that's all debunked then. Because there's no plasma in ring laser gyros. That's stupid. Come on, you idiots. Okay, you've just debunked the rotation. Nice one, Shawn. Well done.
That's what he should be bragging about, is debunking the rotate. Sean,
Yeah,
see,
he's pretty good
if
at
you
that.
come over to the other side, you've already got cred. Already
He's got
there.
the points.
Mentioned about the constant repetition of Shawn Hawkins. I thought immediately of Groundhog Day. So Hog Day, is that a possibility? Do the same thing over and over again.
That's it.
And
Expecting different results.
You have 2 fucking options. Actually, do you agree with this, Gleam? How you doing, by the way? Good wishes to you, my friend. Right?
Absolutely.
What do you think about this? You have 2 options. If we're on a return surface, then the stars have to be far away. This is to account for, you know, what we all can sort of clarify in direct observation, especially now with the technology, right? But you have to have stars that are far away. But if you have a flat stationary surface, then the stars have to be near to account for pretty much the same thing. Now, when you talk with Shawn Hawkins, he only ever presents one aspect of it. Now, what's so fucking hard? You have another aspect to present, and let's see which makes the most sense. But I guess this gives the game away. Let me just say something else interesting about anybody. Listen, everything that's presented to you, imagine the truth was everywhere, like the ether. And it's just about us getting our sort of frequency and vibration and sort of understanding straight, outside of all of the distractions. Imagine the truth was everywhere. So everything we've ever been through, if we just looked at it the right way, the core truth was presented to us. The reason I mentioned that, Groundhog Day, look at the start of it. I won't ruin it for you. Look at the start of it. And it's very significant. You might think it is passing, or you might even think a little bit deeper about what's going on at the
Pretty
first
cool
minute.
sound system.
Well, yeah, but then we can think in a different level. And look, I've been talking about the repeating cloud patterns in not just my local sky, your local sky, over the course of your life. And we just haven't been paying attention to the nearest clues to us. But there, in terms of the beginning of Groundhog Day, a most iconic movie, a famous movie, a famous offering, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, everything is chosen very specifically, very carefully. So, just something to consider. Anyway, Shawn Hawkins is dead, isn't he? I heard he was dead, anyway.
No, he's alive and well. I don't know why.
No, he definitely looks it. He looks it. I can get where you get that mistake from. Seeing him on film.
He's a corpse. He's a zombie.
Oh shit.
No, seriously though, if anyone has ever seen, and I think I'm too old for I'm a boomer. Yeah, I think I'm too old for a lot of people here. But if anyone's seen a series, and you can look this up, and I swear to God, this is his family, the Terrorhawks. TERRAHAWKS. It was the nightmare of my childhood, put it that way. I used to love it and hate it, because I'm sure I used to have dreams when I was about 5 years old or something. And now they're coming back to haunt me in forms of Hawkins.
He's like
put it in the general.
Opposite, Gleam. You're always sort of calm and collected, and he's always like maniacal and Uncle Fester on fucking acid.
Oh shit.
I just imagine.
Oh, there you go. Oh, I see
chaos.
what you mean there, Gleam. Yeah. Here, I got him on screen
Sound
for
of
you.
chaos.
Found him.
yeah, the sound of chaos as compared to like the sound of a pattern, which gives design or shape to things. And then, yeah, that falls, which is a frequency. And so sound can like provide shape in a way as long as you have a resistor or a medium.
It's intent,
And it
man. It's
becomes
intent within the
information.
ether.
Sorry, it becomes information too because it's electrical continuity. Any vibration you send into another medium can receive that vibration or information, like a piece of copper, a rock, whatever, water.
Is there
So when
any
people ask,
possibility? I mean, is it even feasible that shit could just explode out of pin-sized piece of matter and somehow just self-organize into everything we see like this? Does that seem possible to you?
It
That's
has to
such
have
a
no,
happened,
crazy
Brandon.
idea.
It has to have happened, Brandon.
no,
Whether you believe in God or whether you believe in the Big Bang, it has to have happened because God's word spoke everything into existence. So it had to have, because this is the beginning of time, it has to have an order to it, and nothing is
That's
created
intelligence,
instantaneously.
though. What you're
I would
describing
like
there
to
is
actually,
intentional
Yes,
I'd like to give
intelligence.
Brandon a,
right, like the word pattern. It doesn't necessarily mean God. It's just like a pattern.
no,
Yeah,
But they could
that's
fall
the
hand in
intent
hand.
behind it.
somebody was
Brandon,
gonna speak
I
up.
think we have to find some sort of evidence of basic fundamental elements of stuff evolving or coming together or having reactions with each other in a way that starts that chain of life process. I don't think it's unfeasible, but I think we, need to find that, original link or whatever.
No,
It's the
no,
thing
no,
that
no.
keeps going.
Man, you got to see beyond. Evolution is metaphor, so everything is in one thing. If we go beyond evolution, right, but you still have to explain how we have such a close resemblance, I will say, to four animals in specific. Right, everything else beyond that, of course, we're X number of percent close to a banana, so everything is possible. But four in primary, and I'll mention two of them, and I wonder if you can get the other two. Primarily, in order, pig. Pig is the first, very first. Then we have ape, right? Now there's two more. I wonder, can you get it? But do you understand? I think evolution it's all metaphor. It's all greater storytelling, revolving around our greater origins. And unless we accept we have these external origins, this experience we're having, then none of this will make sense. It can't make sense.
Well, I kind of
Because
get
there is no
what Don's
initiative.
saying, though, Pete. Like, it would be we don't have evidence for that. To piggyback on your point, Don, I don't believe that we've
I agree.
seen anything like that, witnessed anything like that.
I agree.
But to your point, Pete, maybe evolution is, you evolve a product. It goes through generation after generation. You tweak, you change the product, you change the design. So there may have been some evolution to human design, right?
Yeah, but hang on.
Yeah, I'd like to see some inanimate matter becoming animate.
Let me just say, hang
Yeah.
on. I thought we all
That's
came away
what
from.
would do it for me. I mean,
Well,
if they had
let me
some
just
evidence
say.
of that. All right,
Let
go
me just
Hold
say,
on,
ahead.
I
Pete.
thought we all came away from the official
Hold on,
story
Pete.
that was
Hold on.
presented
Jeremy
to us.
wasn't finished, Pete.
Okay,
Hold on.
sorry about that.
Sorry.
No, I'm all done. I mean, some of them guys claim that they actually have that over at Gems and shit, but I mean, I don't know. I've yet to see it.
I agree with Jeremy. I don't think it's unfeasible that it could be something worth looking for, a possibility, but I don't think we have it yet.
How far do you go back in trust? This is what I'm saying. If, as flat earthers, we know that we're not living in an uncrafted existence. That's the only way we can put it. The only question is, Lemon Bird, who's a great mind, no one will deny that Lemon Bird's a great mind. I'm sure most people will admit to loving Lemon Bird and his personality. But he will go back to a certain point and he won't go beyond. I was crafted into existence when my parents came together, and that's it. I made my way through with the promise of eternal life. Pretty selfish as well, if everything you do is revolved around eternal happiness as opposed to nothingness, is all you know. But this crafts sort of minds and intelligences. But if you deny, as a flat earther, that is a greater source, a greater power to all of this, well, then you deny on earth in a sense, because everything is up close and personal, but then you deny yourself. So if you continue on in that mindset, well, then you're just going to encounter whatever you encounter. But if we understand that there's a greater IPS calls it a metascript. I called it this pretty similar thing way back. Everything is stripped it out, and I hold to my heart that we are there as these wondrous beings to make our way to ultimately the greater truth that's laid down for us in all forms, in all manners. So I guess that makes the ultimate.
Yeah, you got to take it back farther when your parents gave birth. You got to take it all the way back to the abiogenesis or something. You know, we need to see that life be sparked.
Before I think it was Stephen Jay Gould suggested that, but before he suggested that, why did you take it back to? These are all thoughts and notions. You take it back to where you need to take it back to ultimately. And yeah, within this new frame of mind, I guess, well, you'll gauge everything differently. If all information is presented in its true form at every time, and it's just waiting for us to tune in, as well, this is the, I think, and especially is that Demi who was talking, or Fed even, I think this comes back to our divided nature. If we understand that we are sort of broken receiver, but we have the ability within ourselves, you don't need a counterpart. When you come together with a counterpart, the greatest miracle known to all of us is conceived, which is a child. And when did you stop being a miracle? When did you stop being a child? Well, when we were corrupted by all of these manner of different possibilities. This is, I think, what it means to eat from the tree of good and evil, or Pandora's box.
Yeah, did you ever see the spark that happens? There's a literal a light that comes when the sperm enters the egg at the moment of conception.
Right. Well, this is exactly what I was talking about earlier on. Imagine putting an air pump into the sperm and blowing it up and turning it inside out. I think that's what an egg is. So it's when the two things come together, because ultimately, well, we are divided. We are divided, male from female. Go back to the story of Adam and Eve. We go back to the original cell. Genesis, the division. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. But that's storytelling. Story, your existence is real. Time is illusory. And that's what I'm saying. If you plant yourself in your mind back to evolutionary times, we all went there, right? 60 million years ago, dinosaurs, great. I fucking went there in my mind. And then beyond that, and especially if you're trying to teach your child the truth, you'll go what you trust. If we come to flat earth, it's not just that we lose trust. We understand that, well, maybe the truth is told in everything, but we've just viewed it in a different way. That's what I definitely think. Everything is I came up with a new word. We live in a metaphysical reality where the truth is transmitted via metaphor. So metaphorsics rules. Definitely.
Maybe you're right, because I have had that thought a lot, that like these old Bible stories, all these old religious stories, maybe there were things that were happening back then. They talk about giants, they talk about the Elohim and all these things back then. And maybe some of these things that we hear did happen, but they happened a little differently. Maybe these things are, like you said, just metaphors for something, because imagine we're created. We're stuck in this place, right? Whoever created us put us here and didn't want us to know where we came from necessarily, but still had to kind of instruct us in certain things and give us a history. What context do we have to put it in? They'd have to come up with some kind of context that we would understand given our environment, right?
Well, like I was saying the other day, if you created artificial intelligence and you wanted to put it somewhere, you wouldn't release it in your own world. You'd put it in a world like this. Come up with a story, make the AI be born, reproduce itself and shit to make it think that it was in an actual environment or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, we are a strange mix of the physical and kind of the electric, right? Like information in animated information, kind of. I don't know how to put it.
There has to be more than that, Brandon.
So I mean, there's so much information. Hold on, Pete. There's so much information inside DNA that there's no way that shit sprung up out of nowhere just by chance. You know what I mean? It's programmed to do what it does.
What's DNA backwards, by the way?
Don't start, Pete.
I'm just asking. What's DNA DNA backwards. You think all the geniuses wondering what to call this most profound of they didn't think about what they'd call it? That's like telling me that Volkswagen don't put any thought into their design in terms of their logo presented to the world. Come on, man. What's DNA backwards? Obviously, it's and. If you have a reversal of and, well, then the divided.
Hold on.
state
Why are
is
you
sort of-
using the abbreviation? Use the full word.
You don't have to use the full word. That's what it's known to en masse. Remember, we are beyond words. When you think about a word that's presented, it's a sound.
So why are you talking about words?
Because
If we're
just
beyond
to
words,
make
why
him
are you
up.
talking about words? Because according to you, we're beyond words.
No,
So
yeah,
if
so we can understand words.
deoxyribonucleic
That's my
acid-
point. We can understand words, and we can work it out. Work it out, right? Word it out.
You don't want to give Pete that many letters to play with. Trust me.
Hang on, though.
I want to hear him try to say it backwards, though.
Hang on, though. Let me make this point. If we're in an artificial construct where everything is sort of designed ultimately around us, lots of Bible literalists, lots of people who have a greater faith, right? Well, then, what are you saying? That we haven't the ability to work out the greater puzzle, and that the more serious the word, the more impactful the word, ultimately up to God, heaven,
Not even a
on
word.
all these basic words, he, she, it, right? All these words might be ultimately encoded. What are you scoffing at? What do you?
It's
Well,
not a
they are
word.
encoded, but I don't know if it comes from any higher being or creator. They're definitely loaded with our understanding of them and the context they've been used throughout our lives, right? But I do hear you. I hear this argument every once in a while that, words are kind of magic spells or whatever. And they are kind of, because I can say a word and it'll bring up in your mind all kinds of programs, that
Right.
that run and connect it back to a bunch of other things, and they do this on purpose. I mean, people do this. That's neuro-linguistic programming.
Exactly, Brandon. So it depends on what setting we place ourselves in. That's why I gave the contrast there. We have the evolutionary setting. Let me speak for myself. I'm an educated man. I have a degree in mechanical engineering. I want to bet, by the way. I have many stories to tell. You should remind me sometime to tell a story about Aristarchus and how I met the gaggle of Freemasons. And I was surprised that every one of them didn't know about the flat earth because it seemed so obvious. And it's a different story. But yeah, these are different considerations that we all have to consider. But if you don't place a faith in something, then I think we're completely lost. Because, well, when you get to flat earth, what are you going to remain? In limbo land? Accept that the earth is flat, but not be able to define what earth is, or its confines, or its constituent parts in your own brain, not for anyone else. Even if not for you, for your children, for God's sake. What I mean?
But Pete, please read Book of Job, where God asks him, "Were you here when I laid the foundations? Have you been to the gates of the deep?" Right. So if you look at it, man has tested the boundaries of Earth. I mean, it began right after World War II, primarily from what the history books say. That they tested the boundaries. How far south can they go, and how high can they go? Right? What's up there and what's below? What's right?
But
Travis, you sound sexy.
You talk about man, though. Man has always had. There's always been an organizing force behind everything. I call that the hidden hand. I don't call it that. It's the hidden hand. It's the greater kind of construction. Anyone mentioning DNA earlier on? Douglas Noel Adams was the author of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's a very encoded book in a massive sense. But that's not for everyone's ears. If someone heard that, they'd accuse me of talking nonsense. But I'd say to you, well, it's not just me talking about these sort of things. Have you ever been over to IPS, Tim Osmond's channel? And if we think in terms of every movie that's presented us, or everything ultimately, every picture, every character that's presented playing a part, well, then we can think in different terms. There's a greater puzzle there for us to make our way through. At the end of the day, who's there with you from the start to the finish? If you're an honest, genuine searcher, they say researcher, right? Because there's nothing new under Aristarchus. But then the ability I hold is there for us to find our way to the truth. Make what you will of that then at the end of the day. Does it require losing everything? I would say I pretty much lost everything. It breaks my heart. But anyway, still open for resolution, Brandon. I think resolution is upcoming 20th year anniversary of 9/11. Has to be significant. 10 and 10.
Or it could just be another year past.
Fuck
Who
it
knows?
then. Fuck it then. What's it been all about?
Well, it's about who knows? You got to make
It's
fucking.
all about Shawn Hawkins, obviously.
Let me ask you
It's all been
something.
building
He's
up to this
behind it.
day.
Let me
We're all
ask Brandon a
characters in
serious
his
question
world.
then.
It's true.
Who knows, Brandon? You signed up for the army. Did you ever kill anybody?
No, thankfully.
Right.
And I'll
I'm-
tell you this.
I'm-
I am kind of proud because I could
Right.
have probably within the rules of engagement,
Right.
but I was not a murderous.
And I think that's something you're very, very grateful for, because even your closest friends would claim. I'm guessing. I don't know. I've never been in.
There were people who were were purposely looking to kill someone, and there were people who succeeded in that.
Well, these things come back to haunt us. Everything we do, everything we think, say, or do counts. When we're flat earthers, where else are you going to go? Do you know what I mean? There's nowhere else to go but to understand. You choose one of two sides. You choose the good side or the bad side. And, knowledge of both is written into our hearts. That's the nature of our experience here. So
Yeah.
I don't know what they have to feel.
Can I say something real quick?
Who's that?
I just want to say that none of us are getting out of here alive.
Yeah, go.
Getting out of where?
I'll repeat that. Earth.
Earth.
The system of Earth that we live inside, none of us are getting out alive.
We
Wow,
live
such
forever,
deep.
bud.
Let's make a
We
run
live
for it.
forever. We're eternal. How do you feel about that?
Huh. As long as we don't have
We're
to
just
keep
having
doing
an
the same thing
experience here.
over and over and over and over and over and over again, I guess that's okay.
Well, listen. In the Gospel of
There
Thomas,
will
Jesus
be-
said, in the Gospel of
There
Thomas,
will
Jesus
be
said,
a new heaven
"Recognize
and
that
a
you
new
live in
earth."
corpse. Unless you recognize you found a corpse, you're not fit to follow me." Jesus said that in the Gospel of Thomas, Secret Sayings. So, alive is relative. This is not alive. Maybe we're dead. Maybe we're dead in a different sense, and we don't know what alive really is. This is the fundamental
maybe.
key question. Of course, let me say this, all ball earthers are heliocentrists, given to us by Aristarchus and Samos, and then are, by extension, big bangers. So everything came from nothing. Nothing is significant. Very telling in itself. What if it's not
Yeah.
true, though?
I have to agree with that. Would any baller like to defend that? Because it does seem, if you're an atheist, I guess I would have to couch that an atheist baller. If you're an atheist and you believe in heliocentrism, which kind of go hand in hand, I think, it does seem like a very meaningless existence overall. Maybe someone can correct that for us if it's a miss.
That's one perspective. That's one perspective. But it's not that you can't find meaning in life. The totality of the system may be meaningless. It doesn't require a meaning. But within your own existence, you can find meaning during your time.
Yeah,
Why would
even
something
in my
without meaning
version of a
just?
creator, and even in my version of a creator, or what Earth is, it's still meaning. If you the total, in total, it's meaningless.
That's a terrible way to look at yourself, man. Mine is the complete opposite. My existence is ultimately meaningful.
Pete, your mic is a little low. Is he low for anybody else?
I'm just a bit far away.
Slightly.
I was just going to say that's a polar opposite to my position now. I don't have anything, but my existence is ultimately meaningful. That's all it's ever been for me. But occasional interactions with others, but me with my thoughts and my experiences and my whatever, wherever I am now, that's ultimately meaningful. But the thing is, if I'm meaningful, then you are too. You are too, and that means all of us are. And Brandon talked about, well, I don't think he talked about it specifically, but there are people who go the other way. But there's a price to be paid. And let me just say this as well. With the advent of cameras, if you deny that there's fucking ghosts and spirits around at this stage of your life, you fucking want to take a good chill pill. Where chill being one of the great ghost presenters on a weekly basis, right? But, after a certain point, it's like the spinning ball earth. After a certain point, you've got to reject it and go, hang on, there's fucking no evidence here. It's all dodgy evidence all the way along the line. Every aspect I look at is the same thing with these videos of ghosts and spirits and, well, just, what are you going to call them? Extraneous ETs, extraneous life forms that we are, well, constantly from, I guess for a certain amount of time anyway, prompted to scoff at, and label people as crazy.
Huh.
I believe in fairies now, Brandon.
What?
Karen B. I believe in fairies now. Karen B, who's on with Mark Sargent. Mark Sargent is probably Mr. Flat Earth, right? Imagine Flat Earth truths come out. People will look back for someone to put it on a big pedestal. And Mark Sargent has been on TV on, I don't know, many countries, definitely on every continent. But yeah, he talks to, a regular part of his show now, not that I listen in, but is Karen B. She has her own documented history of interactions with Sasquatch, or Bigfoot. Sure, absolutely. I have no problem with that.
That's one thing I've never gotten. Well, when I was a kid, I was really into Bigfoot. But I don't know. It just seems like we would have found it by now, but I could be wrong.
That's because you didn't watch that video I keep sending you.
You talking about that one about the pyramids and shit?
No, Lloyd Pye, everything. Lloyd Pye,
yeah.
everything you know is wrong on YouTube.
Yeah, that one.
Makes an excellent case for Bigfoot.
I'll have to check it out.
Of course, all these different.
I didn't give a fuck about Bigfoot either. I thought Bigfoot was stupid and silly. Same thing you said. We would have found him by now. But after watching that, the guy makes a very compelling case for fucking Bigfoot. As silly as it sounds.
Are you into fairies too, Jeremy? Are you on this fairy thing? Or?
No, not the fairy. I don't know nothing about fairies, but.
Okay.
Well, that's what you said when you got arrested that time at the game bar.
No, New York's pretty liberal. He wouldn't get arrested there. Anyway, what's going on, guys? Open panel. Anybody can bring up a topic. We're just bullshitting. So, if anybody's got any evidence of the shape of the Earth, don't be shy.
Well, we know the Globers got nothing.
You guys stand behind this model of Polaris I'm sharing on my screen here? Seems pretty solid, right?
The bending space dowling.
What
Look
the
at that.
fuck am I looking
What
at?
is it?
What is it? The 50-degree. Look at it wonking off to the right. That's hilarious. It's supposed to be 90 degrees upwards, every single one.
Where did
It's
you
hilarious.
get this from?
That's Shawn's. That's Shawn's exquisite
that
engineering. That's his engineering. Yeah,
It's just you got to work with what you got available, huh?
If you fast forward a little bit, you'll see how much grease and oil are in his fingertips. Then it's obviously hard work putting together this paper model and dowling. And I think that's black cotton. It may be wool. Yes, so he's used multiple materials.
Okay.
So he deserves. And if you can see the arc of the paper and the arc of where he's drawn the arc on the paper, it's not actually cut out correctly. I think a 7-year-old may have done. No, 6. Yeah, definitely 6-year-old would have done better.
Oh, I thought that was this was tilted. That's extra down there. You think?
Yeah, it's excess that he should have cut out. But
I thought this was.
It is actually a transformer. You do know that as well. If you go through the video, shall I get you the video?
I got your screenshot. You got the link. I'll open it up.
Yeah, let me just. It's on Shawn's channel and just search for Polaris.
Well, the guy's what are we looking at? Content creators. He's got like 500 videos. So I don't know.
Yeah, the basis of the model. Yes.
Well, it's
the
interesting.
Quality of the model. No.
It's interesting. He assumes that Polaris is at the highest point there. What if it wasn't? What if it was at a lower point, but it was just closer to those in the north? So it's all about these people swear by the scientific method, but they won't consider any alternatives. They'll just
Pete, they don't even know what the scientific method is. They
Exactly.
don't follow the scientific method.
That's what I'm saying.
They
They
don't
swear
even
by
believe
it,
in
and
it.
they're broken by it immediately.
The last Numpty clip had Pete saying that the scientific method isn't even a real thing. Shouldn't even be mentioned.
Right. And this is my point here. It's like playing someone at level 5 chess and understanding that you can beat them, but you understand that their response every time is, oh, well, he cheated, or no, I beat him really, it wasn't recorded, and just doing the same thing. You're not going to move on from level 5 if you keep playing him, you know what I mean? And he knows that well enough.
Shout out to the numpty clips.
Brandon, it's in the general, and if you go to 524, that's where he does his transformer, and this is why it's a good piece of engineering, really. He has mastered quite a few arts. Actually, it is origami here. We've got engineering. Seriously, when you look at it, you'll be like, wow, I never knew Shawn was actually capable of this level.
Oh, I see. He made it like so he could turn it into a flat Earth model, and
yeah.
Oh, now I get why he's so proud of this. That's yeah.
Yeah,
So
it would
then
be
you keep the same
if we
distances.
didn't see in static rods, but
Full-on Squawkins did that?
Yeah, he's. I think it's in a
But did he
Japanese
use his feet?
origami book. Did he use his feet? His monkey feet.
He assumes the stars are on a flat plane, so imagine this contour applies, this mirror, this reflective contour applies as it approaches ground level at the north, reaches to the highest point at the equator, and down to ground level at the southern peripherals as well. More like a lens if you think about the extent of the Earth, thousands of miles in distance across. But if the barrier is just like a fucking 60 miles up, it's like the lens of an eye. You know, so that sort of...
He doesn't assume that the stars are on a flat plane.
No, he assumes that they're 426 light years away, impossibly far away, because that's the only way it works to have the same line of sight to the same distant object from that many different places and looking out at parallel lines of sight. It has to be impossibly far away. So far, we could never ever validate where it is.
Right.
You could
I said
you
that
could
earlier
validate
on.
it.
I said that earlier on, Brandon. You have two possibilities. If you choose to be on a globular Earth, then the stars must be far away. But if you're on a flat Earth, then they have to be near. This is based on observed measurements and observations that we all can verify and clarify.
Yep.
How are you
Like what?
gonna validate and verify where Polaris is? It's not even tangible.
Right. How would you verify that the stars are close, Pete? How would you do that? I know you said that we can.
Okay.
How do I do that?
It's a good question. It's a good question. That's what I said. Remember I mentioned earlier on, I said you have to think about this. You have to think about it in terms of our everyday experience. First of all, we're flat earthers, right? So we're thinking in those terms, but we've also been ball earthers. If you think about how the system works in the greater sense, they assume that the sky is flat and the earth is rotund.
No, they don't.
Well, they do in a big sense.
No, not in a big sense.
He's a globe earther.
It doesn't matter. I'm asking specifically how do we determine whether these stars are close or not? I'm not looking for philosophy. I'm looking for a methodology.
Okay, hang on, please. You said no, they don't. So they have to assume that the sky is flat because everything is so far away. We're talking about light years away. All of these greater stars, outside of the wandering stars, all the stars are called after one star, by the way, which is Aristarchus. That's a different matter. Now,
2D.
Yeah, you're going to have to.
Flat,
but
you
hang
mean
on,
2D, Pete?
Well, but
you say they
okay.
assume the stars are flat. Do you mean two-dimensional? Like there's no.
That would be more accurate.
Yes,
the inside of a sphere, you're looking at a 2D surface from the inside of a sphere. That's what we're saying. It's not a flat surface.
Yes, but that's the way they have to look at it, right?
No, two-dimensional from the inside of a sphere.
Yeah, nobody assumes that we're looking at a 2D surface.
No, that's fine. For when we're looking at the stars, the way we treat them, they're the 2D surface of the inside of a sphere. But this still has nothing to do with what Pete said, that we can determine that these stars are close. I'm looking for that, but I'm only getting philosophy.
Your old friend is back, Pete. See you.
I misspoke. I meant flat, not 2D. I misspoke.
But you should challenge me on this because I defeated you years ago in all of this. But
flat is 2D, Brenda.
Hang on, do you not understand by observations that we can all make in reality? Someone mentioned about going to Durban earlier on. Sure, we can do that. We can go to Australia. Now, if you're on a flat plane, do you not understand? Again, you have to think about it, but do you not understand that the stars have to be near, which will account for the differing sort of perspective?
Why do they have to be
The
near?
lowering an angle. Because if they were far away and ultimately infinitely far away, unless
Well,
you
they're
can
not.
gauge what even 1 light year is, Brenda, as opposed to what 423 light years as Polaris is, unless you can gauge that. Now, I'm saying to you, you have two options. We have a flat surface based on water, first of all. All oceans will tell us ultimately that the biggest variation from horizontal in this mindset, is the biggest variation from high to low tide on Earth, which is about 100 feet in Alaska somewhere.
What are you talking about?
Well, I'm telling you
Nothing.
this,
There was a
over a
very
flat
specific
plane,
question of
if you
how the
decide,
methodology of something, but he's
I
only
yes, if
offering
you,
philosophy
have
and not
no
getting to a
idea
point.
what he's
it's
talking
You
not
about. I have
can't
no
scale
idea
and
what he's
variance.
talking about.
This is the definition of waffle. You're
listen,
just
if you
waffling.
decide you're on it, can you place yourself on a flat plane then?
I could, yes. I imagine myself on
And
a
in
flat
a
plane very
motionless
often
plane.
and try to test a lot of things, yes.
Right.
And motionless, yes, of course.
Right, okay. So then something moves, right? And something seems to move in unison to give us all the conforming skylights. Would you agree with that?
I've never
Right. It
seen
could be the
things.
stars could be moving or we could be moving. It's one of two
Right.
things and we have the same effect, sure.
So let's start where we just started a second ago. Imagine we are not moving, so everything is moving above us. Do you
Sure.
understand that?
That's one option, yes.
Yes, so can we develop that option? Because we know how far you and Brenda have developed the other option.
It leads to a contradiction, so we reject
How?
it.
You haven't even
We could explore
let me
it. We could
expand
explore it.
upon
Yes,
that.
sure. We're assuming we're on a flat plane that is motionless,
So,
and the stars above us and
right.
the astro bodies are moving instead of us. Sure, that's
Right,
the
and we
premise.
don't
Let's go.
assume we don't assume anything about their composition as well, right? So that's
Yeah,
another thing.
that would be
That's
unimportant.
what
Sure.
we observe. Hang on about it. Hang on about it. That's what we observe, right? Now,
No, that's
when you
not what we
say
observe.
yes, stop. Let me finish.
No, you're
That's
starting with
what
the
we observe.
conclusion. You're starting with the
No,
conclusion.
I'm not. No.
Yes,
Hey,
you are.
Let me speak.
Starting with the
knows about
observation.
When
logical
we look
fallacies.
up, when we look up
It's a total
at the
small
sky,
fallacy.
we see the sky moving.
That's a conclusion. You're
But-
starting with a
No.
conclusion.
You want us to
an
think that the
observation.
Earth we're standing on. No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Oh, you're
I can't
roboting bad.
understand him. He's roboting.
Rob, you're roboting. I think I know what you're
It's
saying
Pete.
though. Let me give it a shot.
Pete, you saw me
What
block.
he's
It's
saying
spinning.
is that when what we observe, when we look up from our point of view, which is all we have, by the way, is the stars moving above us. You tell us that there are these reasons why what we observe is actually not the truth, and it's the exact opposite, that we're moving and those things that appear to be moving are standing still. Is that accurate?
If we're only looking at the stars, then both conclusions would provide the same effect. But we're also ignoring other observations and also implications of other effects. But just using our eyeballs in a short amount of time, both conclusions would be true of what we see.
Excellent.
But we don't feel movement of the Earth.
Totally separate conversation, Rob. Keep up. Go ahead, Pete.
No, develop
no,
the other
not
possibilities.
separate.
Both possibilities were true. That's what I mentioned earlier on. You never hear Einstein's letters to a friend talking about Samuel Rowbotham's pretty serious and strenuous sort of points to be made. You never hear any correspondence between anybody. Now here we are. Look how many years Brenda has put into all of this, defending something. Is there no passion back then? Of course, Einstein had passion for his cousin.
Are we going to get to the point, or is it philosophy and waffling? Because there's a very good opportunity to explore something, because there's not many Globers that's going to give you the honesty of starting with this flat Earth.
Oh, you're
and
being
admitting that
honest?
Things are yes, I'm being honest.
You're being honest?
Both conclusions are what we would see with the
Okay.
stars. Yes.
Okay, hang on. Let me say this then. Perfect. So, if we were on a flat plane, right? So you're after saying both things are possible. So you give them equal scientific mind. If I am, let's just say for the sake of argument, 1,000 miles north of the equator, and I move 1,000 miles south of the equator, if I'm looking at a star that's an infinite amount of distance away, there will be no perceptible change of angle. Would you agree?
No, there would be a perception change for the angle.
Hold a
If we're on a flat-
triangulation for
if we're
me.
on a flat
Draw
Earth,
it for me to scale. Draw it for me to scale.
Yeah, that's fine.
And remember,
I can.
you're going to tell me
It's
that
all,
my
it's
eyes
all
are useless.
measurable. It's all measurable. It depends on the
Think about
precision
it.
of your equipment. But of course, you're going to have an angular change because you're
You
moving
have a
your distance.
baseline. Think about this, anyone, friends. You have a baseline of 2,000 miles, north and south of the equator, 1,000 miles. And then you have the two arms extending to a star, which the closest one, let's just go conservatively, 20 light years away.
We can go 4 light years. We can go 4 light years.
That's okay. That's even fine. Let's say 1 light year. So 1 light year is light travels at 186,000 miles per second, right? Multiply that by the number of seconds in a minute, which is 60, in an hour, which is 60, in a day, which is 24, in a year, which is 365. And now draw that out for me. Draw it out for me. Do you know what the best you can do?
Kindergarten class?
Hang on, please. You know what the best you can do? You'll draw a straight line to scale. You'll draw a straight line.
But hang on. Who demonstrated the one-way speed of light?
It's so fantastic
No
how
one.
easily off track you can get, Rob.
Pete, why'd you
Yeah,
block
well,
me,
what does
Pete?
that have to do with this
However-
conversation, though?
However, that
Rob?
is the distance
You're talking
measurement
about the
tool.
speed of light.
Yeah, that's true. If you're talking about light years, yeah.
Yes, but the ballers swear by the speed of light. I don't.
Yeah, of course they do. Does Pete?
Right, so draw that triangle. It doesn't make sense on a flat Earth. Now you see that on a flat Earth, the stars have to be near because you see a drastic change of angle between a star you're looking at 1,000 miles north of an equator line and south of an equator line. Now do you understand?
No, given the implications, sure. There are other things that won't work. Sure.
So you have two options. If you put yourself on a spinning ball, the stars must be far away. If you put yourself on a flat Earth, the stars must be near. And that's all I said to the stars. And you denied that.
They don't must be anything. It could be a globe Earth with close stars. It could be a flat Earth with far stars. All we're doing is proposing these ideas against what we see in reality, what we can measure, and then different times of the year what we measure.
You fucking idiot! It could not be that. I just.
You're telling me I'm an idiot that we're going to take these logical conclusions.
Well, why did you just deny everything I just said?
You call me? Of course
All right,
I am. Because
slow
you're
down.
proposing false ideas.
Let's
who's
just
talking
let
here?
each other
I never
talk.
said that.
Let each other talk. No interrupting. Go ahead.
Okay, but hang on, Brandon. I call him a fucking idiot for a point. I just made the point that if you're 1,000 miles north of the equator on a flat Earth and south of the equator, let's talk about reality. We're trying to work out reality. If the stars were infinitely far away, you would not see any perceptible change in inclination. You couldn't because the hypotenuse on both. Hang on, please. The hypotenuse on both sides is so vast in comparison to the base of the triangle that you just traversed. Do you understand these things?
No, of course, yes. But you're starting with these false premises of. I mean, they're not false premises until we test them. Sure, it is a premise that if it was a star 4 light years away and we're on a flat plane and we travel 1,000 miles from our first observation, yes, these things would be imperceptible and
Right.
Would be impossible. Sure, so we can knock off flat and faraway stars. So what's
Right.
the next one?
That's
Or
what I
maybe you
fucking
guys are
said.
just
You
assuming
can't have
stuff
a flat
about what the
plane
stars
and
are.
faraway stars, and if you decide that you're on a globular surface because something is moving in a circle, then you have to have faraway stars because, well, everything else that goes along with the spinning ball or fantasy model.
But
It's not
no.
true.
Based on the observations that we make, we can form that conclusion. Just like we knocked off a flat Earth with faraway stars, that wouldn't work based on the observations that we make.
Right.
So that's why it's nixed. It's not nixed. It's not that it's a globe and they're far away because of other things of the model. It's based on the observations that we make, moving this 1,000 miles, and then it conforms to that idea. We haven't proven it. We've only validated it as a possibility. We can still explore other possibilities.
Yes.
So we can go on as what you said, a flat Earth with close stars. How do we measure this and validate it?
How about before anything, you guys tell us what stars are?
Right,
No,
but
we've
that's a
already
different matter.
established some parameters. Yeah, we don't.
We have not. That's a different matter. That's outside of the parameter. I went in with complete ignorance. You went in with complete knowledge. You've decided exactly that you're on a spinning ball. Now, this is only a possibility. Obviously, if I'm looking at you and I turn around 360 degrees, I can gauge how much of you I will see angle-wise based on how much I turn around. That's just an obvious thing that we can all relate to, right? Now, we have to decide if I am doing the turning around or you are. You have said automatically that this is based on false premises. It's not. It's based on possibilities. We're trying to work out the nature of reality. We can assume a certain beginning point, and this leads to this. If we assume a flat and stationary plane, which we all experience, which is motionless, we all experience that, even if it's not true, that's we all have to swear to experience that, then the stars have to be near based on what you just agreed on. If, on the other hand, we look at reality and we say that we are turning, we are moving, then the stars have to be far away, and it's this rotation of me, myself, as I'm looking at you, that's creating this diversion of angle as we move around the surface. And you can't get away from that. It's a necessity.
Okay, you're bringing nothing. So let me reiterate for a fourth time. How do we determine whether the stars are close to us? Because you said we can earlier. I'm still waiting for how we can do this, Pete.
I'll tell you exactly, and I'll tell you clearer than any man has ever told you in life. The Earth's surface that we're on has always been assumed to move. And then, as a necessary consequence of that assumed movement, we have to find ourselves on a ball, because it's the only thing that can count for our observations. Do you understand that? If the Earth's
you're providing nothing.
If the Earth's
you're providing
surface,
nothing, no
people who
methodology.
can hear. If the Earth's surface has ever been proven to move, it has never been done in a scientific sense.
No, of course.
Never ever. It's always been assumed from the outset. Now,
Here, Pete, let me answer for you. Let me answer for you.
Presupposition.
Necessity.
I'm going to answer for you because you can't, and I'm not going to ask a fifth time. Hey, Biodual, how do you determine whether the stars are close or far away? Well, what you could do is use trigonometry at different locations and different data points, and you can determine these angles at different distances. Knowing the distance between two observers and knowing the angles to a particular star, you can come up with a distance. There you go. That's how you answer
that was not your question to Pete Shea. That was not your question to PJ.
You're doing great.
You
Rob.
were
Always
putting
5
the
steps
burden of
behind.
proof onto him. No,
What I
you
think is weird
put
too,
the
though,
burden
is
of proof onto him.
you be saying,
prove that they are
that
close.
if a globe Earth, if the stars are far, it must be a globe Earth too. That seems like just another absolutism you're putting yourself in. It's just weird. You're jockeying.
It's not, man. It's a logical
It's just
necessity.
philosophy.
I said earlier on, you need to think about it, and you haven't thought about it. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about here, because he hasn't thought about it. He sees one side, which is my side, that if we're on a flat Earth, the angle to a star would be so minuscule we couldn't measure it. Yet, when we go from 1,000 miles either side of an equator, not an equator on it could be this is an equator on a flat Earth, right? Not a globe Earth, right? Then this is what we experience. Now you come up with your presupposition that we're on a globe, and the only reason you get a globe is because you assume that the Earth is fucking moving beneath you. Do you not understand?
My explanation didn't.
And then it's you that's changing the angle, or the Earth is changing the angle, not the star. The star is fixed and stationary.
Maybe you didn't hear my words. I made no assumptions of the Earth
that.
being a sphere or rotating. I assumed a flat Earth, which is why I said trigonometry, because you require that flat base. And then using different locations on Earth at the same time, making the same observations, using the angles and known distances between the observers, you can come up with distances to that star, and it doesn't work with a flat Earth. And that's my hypothesis. But that's the methodology in which you can test these things, which I've asked you 4 times.
Actually, your hypothesis
because you're
sucks,
assuming
though.
you know what the fuck stars are when you have
This
no clue. You don't know what they are. You don't know what medium they're in. You don't know how they're propagating. You don't know what the light is. You don't know shit. So stop talking about stuff you don't know.
Thank you,
He
Percentage,
takes a
for
lot
making my
of-
point.
Hey, what are your assumptions, Biodual, for this
Any of the
flat plane that
assumptions.
your supposed hypothesis, which I'm sure you've spent a ton of time on?
Any of the assumptions, any of the combinations, whether you want far or close stars, whether you want a flat or
We're talking about your flat Earth
rotation
assumptions.
or no rotation, I assume all of those combinations and I see what works.
So your flat Earth assumptions. What are your flat Earth assumptions? You were telling us about trigonometry and how you applied it. And tell us about it.
The most basic part of a flat Earth model, I don't think that you would disagree, is that any two people on Earth at sea level, when they form horizontal lines or horizontal plane, that all of those planes are the same plane on a flat Earth.
What do you mean they're all the same plane? Physically?
Yes, because
yes,
if you're on one
physically,
side of the Earth,
if I made a physical line from one person to another, and they were the same exact height, it would be parallel to the surface of the Earth. A physical line. Yeah.
right, and they're both at sea level. That is the most basic form of a flat Earth.
Hang on.
Yeah, that you didn't answer my question. So you've just told me that your flat Earth is planar. Now what?
Right, that's all that's required. If these,
That's it.
You have
See,
two
that's
observers,
why I know you haven't thought it through, BioDuel.
I can explain it. Ready?
Well, you
that's
just
all
said
you
that's
require
it.
for this, because we have, if we have,
that's all you require for this.
multiple,
Listen to me. This is why I'm telling you that you haven't given it any thought, and why you're giving us a bullshit straw man and sitting here claiming that you have a flat Earth hypothesis that you've falsified, and your entire hypothesis is the Earth is a planar surface. You didn't talk about optics. You didn't talk about perspective. You didn't talk about shit.
Right, because those are things that we wouldn't disagree on. What we're disagreeing on is the shape of the Earth and your starting point for your feet when you're making these observations.
Okay,
so with that
quick,
basic assumption, you could do the trigonometry because you require a flat surface. That's it.
Right. Let me jump in just real quick. Is there anyone on the panel who's flat Earth who agrees with the principle of trigonometry that BioDuo has put before us? Can you triangulate the distance, the approximate distance to a star? Anyone on the panel?
Triangulating.
No.
You need to know. You need to have known value.
Shut.
You need to have.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on, please. Hold on. Who said you can't triangulate or wait?
I'm not triangulating.
That's what. Okay. That's what you said just a few minutes ago. You said if you got 3 different people, and you
I said a number of observers and data points. The more, the better.
Okay. Listen, that's triangulation.
How many?
No, because what I'm doing is using known distances of the surface between me and you, for example, you and Brandon, and then Brandon and Pete. We have known distances between each other. We take angular measurements at the same moment of the same thing in the sky, and then we can see what type of surface those values work for.
Okay, wait. Okay. Now, the only way that you can, you are simply doing the same thing, in my opinion, that happens whenever we talk about measuring distance and proximate local distance and local horizontal. When we say how big is your fucking local horizontal, you don't have any answers, but you always extrapolate out to at some point you're going to start seeing curvature. So now all you're doing is exacerbating your problem. Instead of just triangulating with 3 people, which you should be able to do, you say, nah, you need 20. Now you got 20 different fucking variables that you're going to have to balance out in your equation. So stop dicking around and just understand one thing. You cannot triangulate the distance or the height of stars. You can't do it.
I know you say that you can't, but that sounds like a you ignorant problem, not me.
Okay, great. Let me ask you a question.
Then show us how you would do it, BioDuel.
Wait.
I've only been talking about it for a few minutes now, and I've said it before.
He has been talking about this whole time. He isn't saying how to do it.
I have a question, just real quick, a follow-up question. Okay, how would you verify your equation?
Oh, I would show you the mathematical proofs of trigonometry and show you that trigonometry itself is flawless and is a proof. And then I will show you the measurements and the precision of my measurements. And there you go.
No.
What's the basis of trigonometric calculations, man? You know, it's all solid body calculations, right?
What did you say? It's solid body calculations?
Yes, trigonometry is based on solid body calculations. So when you assume that you're looking at a star, which is a solid body, and the Earth is a solid body, and the Moon is a solid body, when you triangulate and you work out shit, you assume that they're all solid bodies. Now, they're not solid bodies. Imagine there were reflections, for instance, and you understood
the distance
that.
To the reflection.
Hang on, though. This is part of
it's
the
just philosophy,
flat Earth.
Man. If you want to get down to the nitty gritty,
flat
let's
Earth
do
deal,
it.
though, that you need to consider. Remember, you need to consider all sides. You're well developed on the spinning ball Earth side. You need to consider both sides to be a scientific mind. So imagine they're all reflections, and how we saw them depended on the atmosphere that we're looking through, which could potentially be water, which could deform and distort things to a massive degree, as opposed to what is in regards to what we perceive. You haven't considered any of these things.
I have considered those things, and I have no evidence to present, and no one else has evidence to present. That
what evidence to present?
There is a refractive medium in space. There is no evidence for that yet, so I'm going to operate it. I'm going to operate and move forward with the assumption that there isn't one. If you provide the evidence for one, then I will consider it.
We are not conceding that they are in space.
These are just options. The scientific method, you have to explore options. When I put you on a flat Earth and the stars necessarily have to be close, you have to develop that. You can't just say, no, I'm going to revert back to the other option, which is the
Did I do
spinning
that?
whole Earth
Did I do that, or did I provide a methodology in which you can determine
No, you
whether
did
they're
not
close or
provide a
far on a
methodology.
flat Earth?
No, you did not provide a methodology because
I can see it
you
to the
can't
rest
do
of the
it.
voice room or
Okay.
the voice chat. Did I not provide a
Okay, let me
methodology
just
in
say
which
this.
you can test how if something is close and far away on the flat Earth?
Yeah, he did. Let
I
me just
appreciate
say
it.
this.
Thank you.
Let me just say this,
Here,
right?
let me
And I will
just
shut up as well.
hold on. Let me
just say this, please.
hold on. Let me
Okay.
let me ask Baudul. Baudul, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I got it.
Is this your model?
Is that my model?
This is your model of how Polaris would works on a flat Earth, right? You're using trigonometry to
would
say
assume
at this
so, sure.
distance it should be 10 because that's what we observe in reality. 20, it doesn't match. This is what it would be on a flat plane. It doesn't match what we observe. Therefore, we can't be on a flat plane. This is your argument, correct?
More or less, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you might have a different value for the 5,000 kilometers,
Let me
but
say
this is your concept, right?
The principal argument, yeah.
Let me say this then briefly.
Okay,
I'll
well,
go on
where
mute
is
then.
the horizon, and how does that come into play? And how come there's no vanishing point?
Because we're doing the math for geometry. That's
Yeah,
what we're doing.
you are
And then
applying
we're using
the
these, we're using
geometry
these high
of
angles.
physical Euclidean geometry, right? Which if you take a tape measure, or you're doing an engineering drawing, or you're going to build something, that's the methodology you want to use. But we're dealing in optics with what we see from a first person perspective over long distances. So we have to take into account that we have a finite vanishing point, right? That there is a horizon, that we're talking about objects in relation to that horizon and how they move away from us. We have to take the diffraction limit into account. We have to take the atmosphere and refraction into account. So where in this model of yours have you taken those things into account?
We don't care about the horizon. This
We
is
do.
purely geometrical. And then when we're talking about these,
Well, if you want to talk about geometry, you have to take the horizon into account, Biodual.
The horizon being placed anywhere doesn't change the measurements.
It does, actually. It does.
Okay.
It does.
Then question. If you have
no, you can't just ignore it. You can't just claim that the horizon is just nothing.
Brandon,
you have to address it.
I'm steel manning. Brandon, if we have a sextant and we measure the a star,
I told you were steel manning 30 minutes ago.
Hold on, Brandon. I think you know the conclusion.
I don't know the conclusion. And Biodual,
how far is
if
it?
you're not, if what you're about to say doesn't address the 4 or 5 variables that I just brought up, that your model doesn't incorporate at all or address, then I don't want to hear it.
Oh, I am, because my claim is that
Let's
the
hear
horizon
it then.
doesn't matter, the horizon location. So I'm trying to steelman your argument that it does matter. So
the horizon doesn't matter. Tell us about how the horizon doesn't matter.
I bet I won't be able to finish. So let's do any object. Let's do a star. Let's do a sun. I don't give a shit. In the moment of time of it's 60 degrees, you measure it to be 60 degrees. Where the horizon is doesn't change that measurement. You're just getting from plumb. Create your horizontal and you measure your angle to that thing, whatever it may be. That's your geometrical angle measurement. The horizon doesn't give a fuck about this. Your measurement.
You're wrong.
Because you say you're living on a sphere, so
you're
everyone's
wrong.
plumb is different.
And even if you're right, you have provided no evidence whatsoever. You have given me an orthographic. You've given me an orthographic 2D Euclidean geometric proof that doesn't apply to the optical first-person perspective-based world that I see. That's what you've done.
It will until it approaches the horizon, just because of refraction at that point. But if you're making these measurements above 30 degrees, you're generally fine, and it's not going to make a difference. Especially when you don't see any type of distortion and you do see a point source in the sky. Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, but the problem is, hold on.
So how does how does refraction be taken into account with your model?
In our model, how is it taken into account? It's going to be most extreme at the ground level, at sea level.
How does your model deal with the vanishing point, the finite vanishing point?
There's actually a correction for Polaris based on your latitude.
Why are you over talking?
Account for atmospheric refraction.
I'm not sure why you're jumping in, but go ahead, Baudul.
Because it's the information. If you want the information, that's cool. If you just want to try to berate one person, then that's your objective. But what Druss is providing is factual information.
I didn't listen to him because I was asking you a question.
Obviously, because you don't care about the information. You'd rather just talk to a person rather than get the information.
don't
What
be a
Dress
dick.
said is
You are
true.
the
Dress
one
has
who
been
sat
repeated.
here and
That'd
told
be
us that
awesome.
you had falsified a flat Earth hypothesis. We examined your flat Earth hypothesis, found out that it's missing 4 or 5 variables that are of interest since they are involved in the observation that we see. And you have no answer for them. You just say we don't have to worry about
I
the
gave her 2 of
horizon.
them.
You didn't
Yeah,
even
we
mention
don't.
refraction.
I did mention refraction exactly.
You said that we're not worried about the finite vanishing point for some reason.
Listening to the words, Brandon.
Let me say this a minute,
Yeah,
please.
I
Let me say this
am.
a minute. So we have 2 sides, right? So I asked you to consider both sides. The flat Earth model, you've given me an intrinsic, sort of expansive explanation for what the globe model entails. But beyond a flat plane, you haven't been able to expand. Can you answer, what have you replaced the vacuum of infinite vacuum of space with as a flat Earth sort of thinker?
I haven't spoken to anything about the globe Earth and globe Earth evidence. All I've been talking about is flat Earth and methodologies for flat Earth. That's the only thing I've been talking about.
But if you replaced it in that model, imagine you were to present a model of both. You could give me an intrinsic model of the globe Earth. Now, let's see your scientific mind, your honest mind, flat Earth. But the stars are close. You agreed already. The stars have to be close.
I've been talking about.
What has replaced the vacuum of space? If the stars are not light years away, then there's something else. So what has replaced the vacuum of space in your model?
Space on even if we're flat Earth and close stars, space doesn't have to be a thing or a medium. It could still be a vacuous condition.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it could be. What have you replaced it with to test something?
I haven't replaced it with anything because there's no evidence of another thing. If you provide evidence of another thing,
there's no
I'll
evidence.
consider
Yet
it.
you've replaced
If we're going to
everything
just
with
imagine
everything.
without evidence, then we're just going to imagine without
Hang on,
evidence.
though, bud. Would you agree you're a scientific-minded man? You want the truth, right?
It doesn't matter what I think of myself.
Yeah, because you're not yourself here. You're not yourself tonight. But so the point is here.
So there we go. Just
Brandon.
bullshit.
Hey, brilliant. Hang on, please. I'll go on mute after this. So, in your science fair, your school, whatever, your big presentation, you're going to present a fucking honest argument. We're in America, the land of the home and the brave of the free. So you have the 2 sides of the story being presented. On the one side, you have this elaborate global model, and extending beyond that, the elaborate. Hang on, how it fits into the heliocentric model, the greater sort of galactic model. You put loads of time into. You know every single detail. You can argue everything. On the other side of the fence, you have a sheet of plyboard. That's all.
See, things going on here. Pete got let out of his asylum room today, so he's trying to talk to all his friends.
Plywood. Do you know what
Was
plywood
any of that
is?
substance
A
at
flat
all?
sheet. That's all he has. That's the effort he's put into understanding that possible
we were silent for that whole thing.
There was a point to that actually, Baudil, which is the same point I made, is that you appear to have put almost 0 thought into this flat Earth hypothesis of yours.
Here, I'll put it this way: if I were to present my plyboard, that is more of a model than any flat earthers being presented today.
Yeah, well, you haven't presented shit either, except you're claiming that you've falsified something.
So present one, and we can critique it. Until then,
Well, then don't sit here and say that you falsified something.
Come on, Brandon. Let me say this. Pete over the years has presented the stump Earth
You
model.
falsified a bullshit straw man. Hold on. You falsified your own bullshit. That's what you falsified.
Then provide your bullshit so I can falsify it. But until then,
you're the one claiming that you had made some falsification.
Provide your bullshit and we can falsify
I didn't sit here and say I have the answer for you, Baudil. You said you had the answer for me.
Hey, Brandon, he needs to reverse the burden of proof. He needs to.
What do you mean? I'm trying to provide models for you, and then you call my models.
We don't need a model.
Provide one.
How do we
model to work with?
All right, hold on. Farming Ganja, I think, has been trying to speak for a little while. Go ahead, Farming.
When Gleam provided a model, the best you guys could come up with was prove to us that this is actually a flat Earth model. That was the best you could come up with.
We went into way more detail than that, man. You don't remember the spinning record, despite having 2 rotations when we look straight up? You don't remember that argument? Okay.
We look straight up. There
Yeah, if it's been modelled.
Those are reflections when we look upwards.
Those are just 2 different points of reference up in
Hold
the
on,
sky.
let Gleam respond. Let Gleam, he was mentioned there. Let him respond.
All right.
Yeah, that's the point. It's been modelled. You haven't debunked it just by saying, "Oh, that looks odd."
No, I have. We went into great detail about one
great
record.
detail of going.
One record spinning about one axis above your head, and on a flat Earth, everyone's up is the same direction. So we're all looking at the same record. In what way is this one spinning record creating two different rotational directions for the same people looking in the same direction? That's how it falsifies it, Gleam.
I can answer that.
Hold on, hold on.
Of how the sky works.
Gleam, go
I
ahead.
can answer that. I can
It's
answer
been
that. You never
modelled.
heard my answer
And
to
did
that.
you contact him?
Maybe you'll consider it.
No,
What replaces the
of course I
vacuum of
didn't
space?
contact him, Gleam.
Hang on. What replaces the vacuum of space, bud, is
So you
saline
don't want
water.
to know how he made it work.
Hold on.
Well,
Hey,
okay, well, you
Pete,
heard my
let
answer.
Gleam and Bio finish
What
this
does my
conversation.
explanation have to do anything with it? He's modelled it.
Yeah, all he
Why
did
didn't
was
you
ask
ask him how it works?
he didn't, and he didn't falsify it. He just asked a question.
Gleam, you presented it as a flat Earth model. I took a look at it and I asked more questions and clarifying questions. You said it was kin to a spinning record above all of our heads. Then I asked about the different rotation, and all you said was that it was a different location under this record. But we know if we're looking in the same direction, no matter where we are, no matter what the distance, we don't get an opposite rotating direction from a one spinning,
There's
one
two
axis
different
spinning object.
records. There's two different records up there.
Ooh, that's not part of his model, though. That's not part of that model.
Hold
that
on,
Gleam
Travis.
presented.
He's
It was
talking
one
about
record.
Steve.
Oh no!
Lawrence's,
Wait there. No,
model.
yeah, but that'll do. No, that's a good segue. How would you know it's not got two in there?
Because I watched it and you showed me it was a one spinning disc above, then it zoomed in on the surface, and while it zoomed in, the center of that record was going towards the North Pole. And then all of a sudden, do you remember when I took the screenshot and I told you between this screenshot and this screenshot, it just fucked up real quick and then made two celestial poles? Do you remember when I asked you about that? There's no explanation other than
No.
fuck,
What
I
you
can't make this work,
showed.
so I'm just gonna fuck this
What
up
you
and make
showed.
two poles.
No, what you showed was the transition, like what Google Earth does, going from satellite down into aerial. That's all you showed. And you saying, "Oh, it fucked up." So does Google Earth. Does that mean that's
No,
not
it didn't
real?
fuck up in that same way. No. It didn't fuck up in that same way at all.
It
I
went
saw the
from a God
screenshots.
perspective down onto the floor perspective. Now, if you, I said to you, he's modelled it. Yeah, he's modelled it to work. Go and ask him. And the fact that you haven't asked him, it's not my model. I told you that straight away.
You're presenting it though.
Of course I am, because people were saying it doesn't exist. And it's
that's fine.
existed since 2016, but exactly the same as what you've done is what they've done. They've all gone, "Oh, I can just imagine that that's debunked because I can say it." And then that's it. I can find just some illogical with it. And I don't know how he's actually made it work, but I'll just say something to myself.
If you're presenting it and you can't expand on it, and it's not your model that you claim to use or stand by,
Why
that's
did I
fine.
present it?
I accept that. I accept
Why did
that,
I
Gleam,
present
and I
it?
will contact him instead of talking further with you about it.
Hang on.
Well, I
This is the
told
road
you
to
that then.
nowhere. Okay,
Yeah.
hang on.
I'll
Have you
believe that when I
considered?
see it.
Have you considered? Hang on, please. What's his name? Biodual. Have you considered that the opposite to empty space is maybe heavy waters? Have you considered a mirror sky? I was on mute. I was on mute when I asked you about the. I was going to ask you about. Yeah, have you ever been in a hall of mirrors? That depending on the sort of construction of the mirror itself, you will get a vastly differing reflection. Now, and that's in a stationary fashion. If you were in motion and you didn't know you were in a hall of mirrors, God knows what you'd make of what you see. Have you considered any of this?
I haven't considered that it's a whale fart methane that's above us. No, I haven't considered every possibility. I
You
just need
haven't.
the evidence.
Okay,
to be
you've
able to
considered
decide.
empty space. You've considered the infinity of empty space, right? You've considered that, and you've embraced it.
Yeah, I have
And you
evidence to
can't.
support
Okay, let me
it,
ask you a
that's why.
question. As part of the flat Earth model, where do you think all the Earth's oceans may have come from?
Oh my God.
It's
Not
no substance at
above
all,
our head.
man. It's not
The
worth
point is
responding
here,
to.
you're
That's
not
what I'll say.
thinking about. You're not
Okay,
thinking in other terms.
let me
than
give you
what
something
we
to
already
respond to,
thought in.
Biodual.
Hang on, please.
Let-
The point
oh,
is
go
here
on.
that you're not thinking in other terms that we, as one small Earthers, already thought in. And therefore, you are compromising yourself because you claim to be open and honest here, right?
Because I haven't thought about on a flat Earth where oceans come from, and that's
Yes,
me being
everything
dishonest, scientifically
counts.
dishonest about the
Every question
conversation.
counts, man. The simplest of questions are reserved for the most innocent, and the truest of answers will emerge.
Philosophy, no substance.
On philosophy, You can't even place yourself on a fucking flat
Your
plane.
whole model is
And it's
based
easy
on
for
a
the rest
flawed
of us.
philosophical argument.
But if you're dealing with liars and scoundrels, if you walk into a bar and you're an honest man in a bar full of liars and scoundrels who are well rehearsed, what are you going to fucking do as a man when you spot it? You're going to object to it.
Listen, again,
So
Bio,
about this Steve Torrance model bio, when that was first brought up a week or so ago, what you said at that, what the hell?
Did you cut out?
I hear you.
I can hear you, but keep going, Brandon.
You guys hear me?
I can
I'm
hear
still
you.
here.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
We can hear you. We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Oh, my microphone totally fucked up. You guys can still hear me? I think I switched over to my phone somehow. Yeah, I think I can hear you guys. Hold on, I'll be right back. What the fuck? I have no idea what happened. Sorry, guys. I have to cut Discord out and come back. It's like delayed or something. So weird. What the fuck? Sorry. That's probably very annoying. Let me bring Discord back up. We'll get back into it. Okay. Anyway, so Shawn, if you're out there, come on in. It's okay in the chat. Thank you, PJ. It just all of a sudden just went completely haywire. I don't know what the heck is going on. Every once in a while, Discord screws up though, so not surprised.
You're saying the ancients were dumbasses?
Hey,
they knew exactly what I just said earlier on.
Yeah, I
If
didn't
we're
say
on a
that.
flat plane, the stars have to be near due to everyday.
Absolutely nothing. No sound whatsoever. Okay. Guys, I might have to kill it and come right back. I'm going to try to reset something. Again, I apologize. If you haven't checked out Steve Torrance's work, go check it out. There is a good laser chess test. I've watched some of those videos. That's pretty interesting. But I don't think I have any sounds coming from Discord here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to kill it. I'll be right back. You're gonna have a brief interruption, like 15 seconds, hopefully. Be right back.
Okay? Because that's what you just answered against what I did not say. I did.
Can you guys hear me now? Give me a thumbs up out there if you can hear me. Everything should be back up and running. Sorry about that.
Shit about. They didn't try to figure out the distances. That's what I said. So yeah, you can have your near stars.
They had fucking nothing better to be doing, the dumbasses. They had nothing better to be doing.
No one said that they're
All the
dumbasses.
core
It was just not
and
required.
scientists.
The distance isn't required. You can have it's the same argument of if you have one observation of a light source, it could be far away and big, or close to you and small. It doesn't change the effect of its angular size to you. So when we're talking about the sun, for example, the distance doesn't matter because as long as it keeps the same pattern in the sky over the course of 24 hours, well, 23, 56, whatever, but over the course of 24 hours, if it keeps that same pattern, the distance has fuck all to do with that 24 hours.
Let me answer that because you and Travis seem to agree that when you have a core question and a core search for truth, you want to find out the whole extent of your reality. You've already predefined the stars according to a ball Earth model. The stars have to be far away, but also the stars have to be material. Now, if they're not, you've just admitted yourself you haven't even considered that. Do you think the ancients were as blasé as you, bud?
Okay, all right, Pete. So I have a question then, okay?
Right, it's a good point though, isn't it?
I have a question, Pete. Can you point us to any ancient who studied the sky, who was not a globe earther, who measured the distance to the stars? Anybody?
Oh, Because I say it's old bollocks. The stars came into existence 423 years ago.
What the fuck is your problem, then, dude?
Listen, I answered you. Did I not mention 423-year-old origin to our Earth in its current divided form? The stars are a product of a divided Earth. The tree is cut. This is what we remember at Christmas time. You're going to say I'm crazy now, right? This is what we remember at Christmas time when we get the cut tree.
Pete, take it down. Take it down. Take it down a notch.
Okay, so did
I'm
Pete
just
answer
saying,
my
though.
question with a negative when I said, can he name any ancient who's measured the stars who wasn't a glober? And you said no, right?
I don't trust any of that information. It's all storytelling, Trav.
Then what are you fucking fighting with me for, dude?
I'm
I
just
could
saying
name
to
a
you,
couple.
according to what the ancients may have known, according to the story,
May
of
have
course they would have
known.
of course they would have considered themselves. Of course they would have considered, along with the extent of the Earth and the composition of the Earth, what the stars were and how far they were
Yeah,
away.
you just don't.
If they decided that they were on a flat, hang on,
diarrhea
please. Let me just
out.
finish by saying this. If they decided, and you have to agree with me with this, if they decided, if they existed, and they decided that the Earth was a flat and stationary surface, then they necessarily, logically, compulsory had to be tied to the stars being close emanations of something, because they changed so drastically with a change of perspective over a flat surface. That's a necessary conclusion, and I'm no fucking smart cookie.
Ay, ay, ay. Welcome back,
True,
Brandon.
Yeah. Hey, sorry if my audio got
That's a crux
fucked
point.
up there for a while. I was hearing myself like 15 seconds later and trying to talk. I was just going to make one point about this whole Steve Torrance thing. BioDuel. A couple weeks ago, when it had first come up, you know, Clem mentioned it, and you said you didn't really know about it, but you know, didn't think it was very good. You and B-Ball seem to be picking up on very surface elements of it, like you're not understanding it. You're talking about it being a record over us and how we would see it, and B-Ball drew that little stick man with the red line.
It was Gleam's description. He compared it to a record that's above you. That's the way that he compared it. And when he said that, it made sense with what was being presented in the video. So at that
But
point,
when we
it could
look
be
at
picked
the
apart.
when we look at the world, we have to take into account optics, because the only way we see the world is from one point of view. So the world can be shaped in one way and presented to us completely different than we would draw it based on what we see. Do you understand that?
Sure. I have no problem with there being. We can even call it a range for optics, in which we have extreme conditions in both directions, and we have this range of what this baseline can do under these conditions, and then we can make those comparisons. But when we're looking straight up, we don't have to have a range. We can be extremely precise.
I agree. At the zenith, we can look up, and now precise, I don't know about being precise. I would say that all of the globe models estimates are not exactly precise. They're certainly not falsifiable, since you say that they're billions and, you know, light years away or whatever.
So let's just think about this for a second. You know, let's imagine again that 300 years ago or whatever, we're out in the Midwest, or we're out somewhere in a non I guess how would I say developed culture, right? We don't have universities or anything like that, but we've got our own little system of tracking the sky, right? All we know is our proximity. We don't move 10 miles in any circumference to go away from our general location. So all we know is where we're at. So we're going to build our entire world model on that. Okay? So it doesn't matter if we even know that there's a southern hemisphere. We don't need to know that.
But we do know that it exists now. That's an appeal to an ignorance construction.
No, right. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so if, again, because this is a hypothetical situation, if no one in our culture, in our community, that's, you know, however big it is, no one develops any knowledge of a globe Earth. As soon as we get any more information about other lands or whatever, we're not going to then go, oh, that should be that's posing a problem for my my little proximate idea about what our location was. It's just going to be distance and added information about the sky. It's not gonna be a problem for us. So let's say, for instance, I didn't know that there was a southern rotation, but then I got in a boat one day and I sailed down and saw the Southern Cross for the first time, you know, and then looked up and saw that there were two rotational points. So what? That's just what the sky's doing.
But there is a so what. So my conception that there is just one and that it's rotating above me with one center point is like nonsensical now.
No, it's not.
Like you just explained how it's nonsensical.
No, I didn't.
Like I see one rotational point, and so I build a whole worldview around one rotational point. Now there's two.
Right. Yeah, and they're just simply
difference.
They just simply overlap each other.
Hang on. Does that make water curve? Go calibrate your water level, Micey, and fuck off.
Who said that makes water curve?
No, he says, does it? Which is my point.
Yeah. No, the way that we know water curves is because when you do that sailing and you go down to the southern hemisphere, you realize that, man,
you already fucked up.
They don't fit on a
Go
flat
calibrate
surface.
your water level, Micey.
When you add up all the distances that you were traveling, they don't fit on a flat surface.
Yes, they do.
How do you measure distances on water?
But hang on.
No, they don't at all.
Yes,
How
they do.
How have you decided the Earth? How do you determine whether the Earth moves outside of any instrumentation? The Earth, the ground you're standing on. How do you determine whether that moves? Obviously, we relied on instrumentation to determine and preconceived ideas because you're in the southern hemisphere, so you're necessarily going under. But how do you determine before that the Earth itself moves?
What do you
Does
mean?
your experience tell you that?
I mean, 300 years ago, you just simply looked at the sky and you could say, okay, well, like there seem to be 2 points of rotation. But 300 years ago, we didn't have the instrumentation to.
So how do you determine it right now? I'll ask you. Right now, how would you determine it?
Right now, how you determine is you can.
How did they know?
You can use the Hawkins effect to detect it. You can use optical gyros to detect it. You can use.
So they were doing that 300 years ago?
Idiot. You can use all those ways to detect it.
You can go to the southern hemisphere as well. What can you work out in your brain? Will you admit that, in spite of what the instrumentation tells us, you experience stillness? Will you at least admit that?
I don't know that there's a way that I can experience 15 degrees per hour, which is what the instrumentation tells me.
I said stillness. Do you experience stillness, not movement?
I perceive stillness.
Thank you. That'll do. Why can't you expand upon that starting point?
That'll do. Yeah, sure. I perceive it, but my question is it actually still? Well, if I'm going to perceive that, then I'm going to try to measure that with instrumentation. Is it actually still? And once I try to do that, I see that it's not still.
How do you measure? So give me one measurement that categorically tells you that the Earth is not still, but is moving, and everything else is still.
Sure, the optical gyros and AHAR systems in the G1000.
Optical gyro, which is an optical instrument.
So optical gyro means that you're using light to be able to detect angular displacement and angular.
No one says that something doesn't move, by the way. On a flat Earth model, something fucking definitely moves, and more so, everything seems to move in unison.
You just changed.
No. I'm just saying. If movement is picked up, no one is going to deny movement. Now you're talking immediately into light-based detection equipment.
You're
I'm asking you. But hang on, first of all,
can I detect movement? The answer is yes. That movement.
You have to swear by a piece of equipment.
Can I detect movement of the ground? And the answer is also yes.
Well, you defy Einstein then, who said that there's no way to detect.
That's not what Einstein said.
Well, optically, I think he said there's no way to detect whether the Earth is moving or the universe is moving around us and the Earth is stationary.
Great. Said there's no way that you can look at that and tell, but there is a way that you can.
But you're just after quoting an optical instrument.
No, he said optical as in the way you look at it. Optical instrument as in using light to be able to measure something, angular displacement. Yeah, of course you can do that. Like I
ask you a
said,
question
the,
then.
the AHAR system in the Garmin G1000 in XI
Okay.
model, it
Have
detects.
you held one of those in your hand? Do you know how it works in
Yeah,
physically?
I know exactly how it works. I use them to fly airplanes all the time.
Okay, fair enough. Let me ask you a question. One basic question of physics is that we have this division between state, right? We have solid, liquid, and gas, and necessarily by the nature, well, if you want to disagree, you can jump in at any time. By the nature of this distinction, we have a different reaction to the same impulse force, right? Now, can you equate to being on, I don't know, a riverbank front or a lakefront on a summer's day when everything appeared to your senses outside of any optical instruments or other instruments that you can pull out of your arse? Can you equate to the very appearance to the core of you that you're sitting on a stationary ground, you're looking at a water that's completely stationary, and the air itself appears stationary itself? How is that possible? I'm sure you can equate to that. I assume you can equate to that. How is that possible given the speeds and given the laws of physics that you asked me to adhere to?
Which law of physics?
And as differing states of matter, right, solid, liquid, and gas, they will react differently to the same input force.
Okay, and what's your point?
But how can stillness present itself then when you have the same input force to these three differing aspects of matter? And
That's a really interesting question.
Back to a summer's day where the ground seems still, the water seems still, and the air seems still. Now, I'm not saying that you're wrong. It's possible that you're right, but you have to defy those basic laws of physics first of all. I'm asking you from your own core experience.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm asking you, if you want me to answer the question, tell me which law of physics you think that I'm breaking by detecting motion with using an optical gyro.
Well, no, that's a different matter.
No, he's just changed it back. He doesn't want to answer your question or something.
No, I want to make sure I understand his question.
I'm telling you something moves.
He made it very clear, RC.
No, I actually don't understand it. Then it's my own
in reality, the ether is reality. Everything, the skylights move because
hold
there's
on,
something
Pete.
that's moving that's creating the skylight.
I understand, Pete. Hold on. Let me see if I can clarify this for Meisty here, since he doesn't understand.
I honestly don't understand.
No, okay. So here's what he said. He said the same input force impacts different states of matter in different ways. The matter will react differently. So we have the same input force, impacting solids, liquids, and gas. He named those three.
Okay.
And they all present as stillness. They all present as being impacted in the same way. And he asked you to explain that.
So why do solid, liquids, and gas behave differently when impacted by a force? It's because the space between those molecules are different. Thus, that force is absorbed in different ways, and it reacts to that force in equal and opposite directions in different ways.
Okay,
I mean,
that's good. But since the Earth is turning and it's rotating or it's orbiting the sun, how is it that we don't, we can't detect these differences in the forces that are causing that to happen in the three states of matter? That's what he's saying.
So for example, if we have like this centripetal forces or the centrifugal forces that we measure, like we can actually detect those differences when it comes to like the Alphos effect at 200,000 feet versus the Alphos effect at 10,000 feet versus on the surface. Like, yeah, you can detect those differences.
It's just the same old fucking runaround.
I'm
not going down the Alphos effect with you because you haven't narrowed it down to an independent variable that causes the Alphos effect. We've talked about this 100 times. But
if he runs, hang on, please. If you run along with your cup of coffee along the road to try to catch a bus or something, what's going to happen to the liquid? Solid has a firm grasp. What's going to happen to the liquid? And what's going to happen to the air within your face? Which gives way to which? I mentioned earlier on that water finds the path. Of course, that's obvious. Water finds the path of least resistance. Air more so because it's 1,000 times the density. Everything can't react in exactly the same way, which is you left out, Brandon, that I put us all in a scenario of a warm summer's day by a lake where we have the distinct impression we're not moving, neither is the water moving, and neither is the air moving.
Okay. Yeah, when you have such a small thing on all of masses, you're going to get a very small effect. And so it's going to be really hard to measure the difference between, a 0.02 Newton force on the air versus a 0.02 Newton force on the water versus on your boat.
Okay, listen, bud. In relation to external space, at the equator, if you're standing on the ground, you're moving 600 meters every second, as is the water in the lake next to you, as is the air surrounding you. 600 meters every second.
Yeah,
That's a
and
mile in 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, you have to go in a mile.
Yes, and we all know that speed has nothing to do, does not affect physics. It is acceleration that will affect how something acts.
When you travel in a circle, you are always accelerating because you're always changing your direction of motion.
Yes. And when you're traveling in a circle, you measure that type of speed in radians or degrees per hour. You don't measure it in tangential speeds like that. I mean, you know this. If you want to appeal to physics laws, then let's use physics laws.
He's not going to give you an answer. Pete,
before, so have I.
I promise you, he's not going to give you an answer. He's not going to consider your question in earnest. He's just going to keep doing it.
Brandon, I gave the answer. The answer is
no,
that
RC, I can hear it in your voice. I can hear it in your voice. You know what the fuck you're doing.
Okay, Brandon, the answer is that, watch this. The answer is that the force is so incredibly small, okay, on the air and on the ground, the solid ground, or on your boat or on the liquid water, that detecting a difference would be a completely
great scale negator.
The great scale negator. Thank you, Brandon.
So it would be nearly impossible to detect the difference in effect on something solid versus something.
It's amazing how it's nearly impossible.
How do you know we're not
to
still
detect
then? How do you know
It's like we're standing still. It's almost like we're standing still.
Can I ask a question about the motion of the Earth and how it's not as simple as this?
No way. Go for it.
If you're on a conveyor belt, can you guys hear me? It's kind of windy. I don't want to be choppy.
It's not too bad. Go ahead.
If you're on a conveyor belt that's 50 miles long and it takes 24 hours for this conveyor belt to go all the way around, so therefore the conveyor belt's moving vastly slower than the Earth. If you walk in the direction it's moving and against all the way to one end and against it, are you going to have different results?
I'm going to say yes.
Well, yeah, and the longer you make it, the more that difference increases.
Yeah.
Just carry your spirit level with you.
So how is that? Like if you're the ground under us, if you're on the equator moving west to east with the spin, whatever distance you walk on the way back should be shorter. Period.
Yep.
How is it not any different than that?
Absolutely.
Shorter in. I'm not sure I know what you mean.
In time wise and less steps.
It's just like taking the sidewalk, the moving sidewalk in an airport. If you walk with it, you're going to get there faster. If you turn around and walk the other way, you're going to have that resistance.
Yeah, but in the globe conception, the whole Earth is the walkway.
Yeah.
So you're only moving in relation to the walkway. If I walk one way on that treadmill at the airport versus another way, I'm only covering the same amount of treadmill, regardless of direction. Even though in relation to the floor outside the treadmill, I'm moving a lot farther one direction than I am in the other.
Okay, wait. So now just take James'
Just
question.
put the treadmill in the shape of a spear. Spin it one way, walk with it, walk against it, same thing.
Under their conceptualization of Earth, your motion is measured in relation to the spinning model. You are in the same reference frame, so you already have that speed. You can only move in relation to.
We don't live in a world. we don't live in a world where we do that even in our own proximate location. That's what the point is. That's an insane. That's the pseudoscience of their model. You can't take a small scale, like take James's thing and just make it. Let's say we made it a 200 feet circle, like a big record player, a big merry-go-round. You take a step on there and get your bearings, get your balance, equilibrium, whatever. Start walking one direction. Anytime you turn in any different direction, you've got inertia. Okay? It doesn't matter how big you make that fucking thing. You are always going to have inertia whenever you take a step in any direction.
Yeah. And the question is how much does that change if I step in this one direction or the other? The answer is very, very slightly. Not enough for me to be able to detect.
No. If you're going to make that claim, show us that fucking model.
This is the same guy who will tell us about the Atmos effect, which is like 3 grams out of 100 kilograms or some shit like that. Was it?
Which is, I mean, RC just told you it's undetectable. All their shit is either out of reach, unmeasurable, undetectable.
I didn't say it's undetectable. I said
you just said that.
No, listen. He asked me what would the effect on gas versus liquid versus solid be. I said the difference between those 3 states of matter and their reactions would not be something that would be very easy to detect. I didn't say that I didn't say that the spin was undetectable. I said that its effect on solid, liquid, and gas, the difference between those is really hard to measure. That's what he specifically asked.
Hard to measure because it doesn't exist.
No,
the way I'm explaining it, right? The conveyor belt has 24 hours to go 25,000 miles in the ball Earth world, so it's moving hella fast. You would have a vastly different.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work, guys. You know it doesn't work. This is the argument that brought me over to Flat Earth. This exact argument, which is the one idea I had when I was driving my truck for the first time, through the hills of Pennsylvania, driving along thinking, wait a minute, if I turn in this direction, I'd be going against it. Wow, that's kind of weird. Why don't I feel anything?
So, Jeremy, why were you conflating his question to me about the 3 states of matter with the idea that we can't detect spin? His question was different than that, right?
I just heard you say that if you walk in a step in this direction or this direction, it's so slight that it's undetectable.
Yeah.
Is that not what you said?
Yeah, so that would be the difference between
similarity.
Jeremy, the difference between taking a step from here and over there. That's a slight difference. That doesn't mean that there is no rotation. It simply means that the difference in tangential speed between one place and the other is not very much.
It's undetectable. We know.
Show us this, right?
I said the difference.
You said it was undetectable.
Jeremy, you're not even listening.
The difference is undetectable. Yes.
So, Jeremy,
I heard you. The difference is undetectable, meaning you can't detect it.
I didn't say that you can't detect the difference.
What does undetectable mean to you? Because I mean, maybe fucking words mean different things to me than they do to you.
I didn't say that you can't detect the spin. I said if you just take one step from here to as far as you can take a step from, that difference is really hard to detect. I didn't say that the spin is undetectable. I said the difference between you taking.
Okay, stop with the fucking rhetoric word salad. Okay, show us this in reality.
Sure,
word games.
I told you if you take a G1.
No. Shut the fuck up. I didn't say talk more. I didn't say what you just said again in different words. Okay, go the fuck away. Build this fucking model and show us.
Show you what specifically? What do you want to see?
Show us anything. Show us anything, please. Just anything relating to the globe. Air moving in lockstep with a spinning sphere. Just anything. What do you got for us? You have anything? We all know the Glovers can't demonstrate a thing. Nothing.
Yes, measurement of a spin. We can demonstrate that.
Oh, there we go. Pack it up, Brandon. Let's just all go home.
Oh, cool.
Shut it down.
Hey, can I ask something?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Wait.
I am.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
sorry to
what's up?
interrupt you. You sound kind of young, if you don't
Yeah,
mind
no,
me
I'm
asking.
not. I'm not. And I have that voice. I know. I am of age. I'm good.
Okay, I hear it now. All right. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure. Go ahead.
No worries. So first off, I don't know much science whatsoever. I cannot give any arguments regarding the science or the gravity or the force. I just want to ask some questions that I do know stuff about, and I just want to know your responses from there.
Okay.
So, we have the alleged International Space Station, alleged, right?
Yeah.
And they have a 24-hour stream of the Earth, an alleged 24-hour stream. I understand that photographs can be manipulated. I recognize that. Perhaps video streams can be manipulated, possibly. Right, maybe.
Why they keep cutting it off if it's 24 hours?
Hold on. Let her finish. Go ahead.
So my thing is this, right? Okay, if we were to grant that it's faked, right? My question is this: whenever a city goes dark, every so often the power is cut if something goes messed up, right? And it creates a visible change from all the way up there, right?
Yeah.
The thing is that even if they're able to mess with this stuff at real time, how can they be fast enough to make sure that their video feed correlates with what's happening on Earth?
Show me a correlating
Hold
video.
on. Do you have an example where we've observed from the ISS like an unplanned event and seen it on the ground?
Well, I would assume that if such a thing has occurred, you guys would know about it, right? If there's something that didn't measure up, you guys would be the ones who know.
Well, maybe we didn't catch it. It's possible that something like that happened and none of us caught it. But have you seen anything like that?
I not. I do like the pretty pictures that they take of Earth. My favorite one is the one taken from the moon. It's my favorite picture ever, but I don't know.
Allegedly.
Alleged, right? I don't know anything about nothing, right? But
okay.
I'm just saying I assumed that if something like this happened, you guys would know, and I figured that maybe you guys could show me something like that. That would be convincing evidence to me. If the power in Tokyo went out and Tokyo was still bright in such footage, that would mean something to me. Absolutely.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything like that or heard of anything. Has anybody else?
No, can't say that I have.
Lack of stars. How about the lack of stars from any of the footage that they were showing?
Well, I've heard of virtual augmented reality where they can change video in real time. In other words, live.
Like I said, right? I'm not a very strong sciencey person, but I would assume that there are some unplanned events that they just wouldn't catch it in time. There would have to be, as advanced as they could be in their lie. I have a hard time believing that they would catch every single unplanned event, right? I don't know.
Like a volcano?
I'm not a sciencey person. I don't know why. If you guys wanted to debate me on the science, I would not even be able to say anything because I don't know nothing about the science. I have no idea.
Yeah, you said
I
that.
haven't seen anything like that. I'd be interested in seeing evidence if that came up. I'm not saying there's not a way that they couldn't fake it. They do have access to a lot of data sets, and I don't know how sophisticated they've made that stream. But that would be interesting to see something like that if it was out there. Yeah, we'd have to investigate.
Do we not have data of it
It's
not?
light.
Hold on, guys. Do we not have data of it not matching? I thought Jeranism used to catch them all the time out there when the ISS would be showing cloud cover and there would be clear skies over them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do remember him talking about that. I haven't looked at that for a long time, but I do remember that. Yeah.
I would
be difficult.
see something like that. Personally, I think that if there was some sort of uncorrelating event, it would probably be power outages. Just because I think clouds would be much easier to predict. If they're really able to fake this stuff, I'd be shocked if they couldn't fake clouds. But if you guys are done with this one, there's another thing I wanted to ask about.
Well, let me just say before you move on, power outages is a good one. Like rolling blackouts would be a good one. Like tsunamis when they touch down, like when they hit shore, would be another good one. Or like tornadoes or cyclones or what have you.
Volcano.
But, the volcano, not so much, because volcanoes kind of they take time when they're erupting. It's going to be like spread out over a few minutes or something like that. It's not going to be as reliable.
Can I give the Blober answer for a second?
Well, I'm just meaning if you caught it erupt.
Yeah. Kool-Aid, go ahead.
The Himawari 8 captured a wildfire in Mongolia. Excuse me.
I think you're cut out. You
Aerial
said
footage,
something
dude.
captured
Aerial
a
footage,
wildfire
Corey.
in Mongolia?
Yeah, I think he claimed that ISS captured the wildfire
No,
in Mongolia.
No, it wasn't the ISS. It was Himawari 8. Captured a wildfire in Mongolia that led to lives being saved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
just to
Himawari
provide
8 might be a
substantiation.
compilation of high altitude photography, though. That's not as. The difference between that and the ISS is it's supposed to be real time footage of what they're seeing up there, looking down at the ground immediately. So there's more immediacy than the.
Right, but the Himawari is every 5 minutes, or did they upgrade?
I don't know.
10.
But
It's 10 minutes.
My understanding is
It's 10 minutes one shot. But I think it's too difficult exactly because of what you just said there, Brandon. There's too many data sets. And if you look at it, 99% of our weather data comes from ground-based observatories. It's the 1% are basically the couple of satellites that are concentrated on weather, or dozens.
Alleged satellites.
Well, they can be. They can be.
Yeah, but
I
if you
mean,
look
they
at,
can
like,
be
the
up there,
aerial-
little boxes floating.
Why don't we let the young lady ask her other question?
Yeah, what was the second point?
Okay, so I'm not good with science, like I said, but I am an international law student. And I know that a lot of the time, the Flat Earth community keeps referring to the Antarctic Treaty. This is what I study in law, right? We study the treaties. I have read this treaty, and I have throughout the treaty, it says you may not stake claim over Antarctica, so no country may claim it as their own territory. Another thing it says is that no country may gather resources in Antarctica. However, there's been nothing in that treaty saying that people and countries are not allowed to explore Antarctica. Now, I know you guys.
Hold on, let her finish.
I know you guys say that there's something out there preventing people from going to Antarctica, but I can tell you it's not the Antarctic Treaty. I want to know why I keep hearing about the Antarctic Treaty. It doesn't
I'll
do
tell
that.
you precisely if you need. It's
Alright,
literally Jarl Anderhoy. If you look up him, Jarl Anderhoy, and this is the same for anywhere. I mean, it's no special thing, this, but this is the thing that is quoted and where the source is from. Jarl basically sailed to Antarctica without getting a permit or permission from governments. Now, he turned up in Antarctic waters, and they caught him one time. He didn't actually reach Antarctica then, but then he tried it 2 years ago. 2 years later, and got arrested. Same thing, but he made it actually onto Antarctica. And because he got arrested and imprisoned, that is the reason. It's just sort of like you cannot just wander there freely, which, if you look at the grand scheme of things, you can't do that with any country anyway. You can't just wander up on the shores of the UK without getting a boat.
There's also the bunker fuel rule as well.
She just said that it says that you can't claim it. No country can claim it. Yet they're arresting people that go there. That means they're claiming it. Sorry.
No, not quite. So before the Antarctic Treaty, many countries said, wow, Antarctica has so many resources, I want it. So,
Read it again.
What resources? This is the 60s. How do they like
Okay,
what
let her
resources?
finish.
Penguins?
Just let her finish, please.
There's always the issue of when you find new land, the first thing you think of is, are there resources there to be gained, right? Sure, maybe later on we found out about it, but the point is many countries were staking claim of it. And then as a result, came up with that.
Read it.
Let her finish, bro.
I gotta cut her off, guys.
No,
She says she's read it, but then
I've read it, yes.
I'm not bringing up the point where it says specifically, hold on, it says in there that you cannot bring excess fuel beneath the 60th south parallel. There must be a big portion of it she missed. You have to get permitting from multiple different countries. Okay, you have to pay a fee for a preliminary environmental resource screening. Okay, all this stuff costs millions of dollars. You obviously have not read it, read the whole thing.
No, those things are all about the protection of that area to ensure that no country is able to have a false cover or a company.
Who gives them the authority to protect it? If they're not in ownership. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. She's trying to argue, like, as an international law student, you should know the difference between de facto and de jure ownership, right? So it's de facto being owned, basically, being laid claim to, whereas de jure, they claim that it's not, but in actuality, they've set up all these conditions, just like any other country, with that conditions you have to go to go to it. If it was, let me finish. If it was free, if it was not laid claim to, then there wouldn't be any sort of conditions that you would have to kind of adhere to visit there, and you wouldn't get arrested for trying to. You can't have it both ways.
You can
Please. I recommend that she goes to Taboo Conspiracy. One thing real quick, Jeremy. One thing real quick.
You said that 2 minutes ago.
Brian, hold on. Brian, hold on.
Antarctica.
Let her respond. Let her respond. All right.
Look,
then you
the
can go.
thing is that there is the responsibility of many countries to protect the area. Yes.
Why?
Protect the area. Why? Because if you're not going to let any one country own it, then you're going to want to protect it to make sure that somebody doesn't sneakily take away from it. That's the whole thing, to prevent other countries or members of the treaty from being sneaky about that territory.
So what you're telling me is not one country. Hold up, there isn't any one country that owns it, right? So all countries own it, right?
Hold on. There's
a problem with that logic alone.
No, you can't have no countries owning it and then making conditions for it as if all countries own it. They agree on the conditions because all of them own it.
Who is ordaining this treaty? Who wrote this treaty down? Who is enforcing this treaty? Somebody clearly laid claim on that land.
I don't know.
Because somebody's putting together this treaty.
It's an international treaty. It's enforced by a bunch of nations. They all lay claim to it together.
There are nuclear power plants. I repeat, there are nuclear fucking power plants in Antarctica. There is no indigenous plant life. There is no indigenous animal species. What are they protecting?
Let her get a word in.
Go ahead.
Sorry, by the way.
That territory from each other. They're not protecting the thing itself. They're protecting it from each other.
Who enforces the treaty?
It's internationally enforced. All of these countries are down with it. If it's not being fulfilled, then there's always a tribunal.
Nice.
Each international court of justice has its own tribunal. You have the Inter-American Court of Justice. You have this one. You have that one. I forget which court is the one that the
You're missing my point. Who enforces it in the oceans, right? There's obviously in the permits itself, there are certain regulations of what equipment you can take and what scientific tests you can do, right? So it's it's not the thing that the implication of going to this location isn't as simple as just packing your car up, driving to a boat, hopping on a boat, and traveling that distance, right? So to simplify it as, hey, you can't really just, you can really go down there, but it's okay. They have all these treaties and all these people that don't enforce it, but you can really go down there, right? You make it sound like it's easy to do, and even the tours that they offer, for the regular citizen for like a ship cruise is like maybe $1,500, $2,000, maybe $3,000 for a higher end suite or something, and it takes you to a peninsula somewhere off the shore of Antarctica where you get to see high cliffs of frozen ice, right? That's the extent of that. And if you want to go down there personally for a week, it's going to cost you $50,000. And then if you do go down there, you can't venture off on your own trails. You have to have everything sectioned out. And I do understand why. I mean, there are these snap storms that literally will wipe you off.
Irrelevant.
But it's not like this easy.
You can
place
travel to any
venture
other
to, is the
country real
point.
quick. You can travel to any
And
other
it
country.
doesn't matter if you come
and
and
they don't
defend
care
what
about
it
your
is.
safety.
We know that it's enforced. There's a reason why, there's safety reasons as well.
Yeah, that's
But
what McDonald's.
The safety
let's
reason
look-
is a red
let's look at
herring.
the
It's
claim. The
absolute
claim is that
bullshit.
there's some
Because you
form of
could go to
secrecy
any other
happening
country
down
and
there,
get into
and that secrecy is
trouble.
why it's difficult to get there. That's really the crux of the argument, right? Is there's a form of secrecy.
So can
Oh, yeah.
someone tell me what the treaty is?
I want
Can
to.
someone wait before.
No, let her respond, man, and then you could go you go next.
No, I bet.
So regarding the point of safety, that is actually a big point. It's true. If you visit any country, they might just let you die in a disaster there. You see that happen in Mount Everest all the time. The thing is, it's just that one country that's in charge of Mount Everest, right? But because Antarctica is responsibility of multiple different countries, the problem is that one country might say, we have to go rescue whoever ends up stranded there, while another country says, no, I don't wanna. That rescue effort can be very expensive, though.
What about international waters?
What?
International waters.
Yeah. What is the point about that? Yes, they
You can drown and die in international waters, and it's supposed to be an international agreement. There's maritime law that is governed by all the different nations of the world. So how's that different?
Whoa, that really depends on what areas you're in, but also in international waters, the thing about there is that there are still activities that you're not allowed to do, even in international waters.
But you can die, right?
We do regulate things like contraband. We've done that with
No, we're talking about safety right now.
Yeah, but that's besides the point. The point is that if the U.S. wants to rescue whoever gets in trouble there, but Russia says, no, I don't want it, I don't care. The U.S. goes ahead and does it and spends, let's say, $10 million doing it. And the U.S. points to Russia and says, hey, pay up. And Russia says, no, I don't want to. That causes problems. Therefore, that is why they collectively decided that we're going to be very careful about who goes there. Because
Can you read the part?
That kind
So
of
they all discovered Antarctica.
Hold on, guys.
Hold on, James. Jeremy
James,
next.
you heard me
Jeremy.
trying to get in, bro.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Why are you trying to get?
And then I got a
in when it's
question.
my
Go
turn?
ahead, Jeremy. No,
It's
it's not,
my turn.
Checky.
Why
No, it's not.
it is.
Checky, shut
It
the
was
fuck
my
up.
turn.
It's not your
It was
turn,
my
Checky.
turn. I
Checky,
waited
it's not
my
your
turn.
fucking turn, Checky.
It's my turn. I'm waiting.
Oh, that might have been
Go
my
ahead.
bad.
Jeremy.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Listen, can you read the part about the exploring that was in the treaty again?
You want me to
No,
pull
no.
it up right now?
Just read it, whatever you said earlier about exploring.
She's spitballing, man. She's making shit up.
All right.
Remember.
All right, well,
Never
let me
mind.
ask my question, and then I'll let Checky ask his question, okay?
Please do, yeah. I don't want to be made a liar.
Yeah. Here's my question. Why are you really in here asking us these questions? Because this story about you being an international law student and you just stumbled in and were curious about these things seems a little strange. So what led you to join this Discord server and ask these questions? Why are you really here? I'm asking you.
I'll be honest with you, it's because I do a lot of activism on the other servers that I'm on, and sometimes I just get tired and I just want to see what's going on in other places.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not here to actually think very seriously about the science of flat Earth, because like I said, I'm not capable of even coming near it. I'm not interested in that stuff. I am, however, interested in whatever my mind can grasp. Like, I can grasp the idea that it's difficult to fake footage in real time. So I was curious about that. I was also curious about what you guys think about the Antarctica.
I'm curious of your best. I want to know her best real-time footage, like that would.
I assumed that if there was anything that
What
did
about augmented reality and
Yeah,
stuff
we already
like
went
that?
through
'Cause
all
they
that,
do
guys. Hold
live.
on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
She doesn't
Chikey.
have any.
Go ahead, Chikey.
Yeah, what is a treaty?
This is an international agreement. It can be between 2 or more countries.
So it's agreement between countries. So why should I be bound by it?
This is whether the question is it's the countries that are bound by it. If a
Well-
citizen of a specific country that's a member of the treaty is not bound by it, but that citizen still goes around breaking the rules, then that country that you belong to is liable. Therefore,
Right.
that's why they may try to stop you from going there.
Yeah, but my country is not part of the treaty, and I don't give a shit.
Okay. The issue there is that they may still, the other countries might still be bound because they are saying that we have agreed to, as a collective, be very careful about who ends up stranded here, because regardless of where you're from, some of the countries are going to want to rescue you.
So none of the countries own it, but the ones that don't ratify the treaty definitely don't own it.
Nobody owns it.
Because if nobody's the same part the treaty is
Hold on, guys, one at a time.
If anything, the countries who signed that treaty own it the least of all. Because
No, they don't own it.
promise that we are not going to
No,
make
they don't own it.
Listen,
Listen.
They don't own it, they own it the least. You understand how you're not really making sense?
That's hilarious. That was hilarious.
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
said that. Double down on it.
Yeah. Let's hypothesize. Yes, some countries decided they don't want the Pacific Oceans to be polluted, and it's a no travel zone. They agreed between themselves. Now they will try to force others not to go through it. Like, what the hell?
Exactly.
Well, really,
Exactly, Chikey, exactly.
If you're a citizen of that country,
Because you have an agreement with someone else, it doesn't bound me.
you're asking me about the whether or not the rules are fair.
Yeah, it's a human rights violation to try to infringe on my rights to
A
travel.
treaty is not a rule. It's an agreement.
Why the rules are the way they are in terms of morality.
Listen to me.
Justify the rules. That's not what my job is.
Listen to me.
We're not
A treaty
talking about
is not
morality.
rules. It's an agreement, and anyone who is not part of this agreement that's not obliged by it.
Should
Yes?
remain unaffected.
As if you're a country, completely true. Are you a country, Chike?
No, I'm an individual who has a country
that's-
citizenship, and I go
Yeah, no
by my
country.
country.
You can have 50 million
Let me
people
address
saying
this
they're a
country
country.
thing.
They have no more rights than one person on their
I
own.
don't have
We
no
are all
rights.
human beings.
But my country does not force me anything about Antarctica.
And yet, if you do anything there, the other countries who have signed the treaty are going to say that we are obligated by the treaty to
Because they're bullies. Because they're bullies and they
obligated
just
Let me
do
just
whatever
make this
the
one
fuck
point.
they want.
All
Let me
they
just
are
make this one point real
obligated
quick.
to-
What a perfect what a perfect thing to have in place. This treaty makes it mad difficult to go there. You can't explore freely on your own. All these rules and regulations. If you were trying to hide something down there, how perfect.
well, let me just say, wait, you pointed out.
Sure that if the U.S. wants to rescue somebody, but Russia doesn't, if U.S. spends
What if the person doesn't want to be rescued? What
Hold
about
on.
that? What if the
Hold on.
person? What if the person doesn't want to be rescued?
If you want to be rescued or not, if a country decides to rescue you, that's what's going to end up happening.
That's my point. That's where you're fucked up. That you have no right to do.
All right, Farming Ganja, go ahead.
Can I go next?
Yeah.
I mean,
Farming Ganja.
You started out pointing out how the treaty doesn't prevent anyone from going to Antarctica, but you'll admit that U.S. law, Great Britain law, the laws of all the countries put all these regulations in place that effectively make it so people can't go there.
It appears that they have done these laws specifically, a lot of the time, specifically so that they would not be found as being negligent to their rules in the treaty. That sounds completely correct.
You'll admit that even though the treaty doesn't prevent people from going there, the laws of the countries do.
Absolutely, that makes complete sense. Legally speaking, in
They could
international
have just not done the treaty.
That, you know what? Thank you for that. Thank you for that, because that is the first time I've ever heard somebody on either side or unaffiliated acknowledge that there was this legal basis for disallowing people free reign through Antarctica.
Completely correct. Yes.
And what a perfect thing to have in place if you're trying to hide something there. Do you want to acknowledge this, or
to just discuss
the penguins?
She won't acknowledge it.
Say
you acknowledge the fact that if you were trying to hide something, you would make it illegal to explore freely in that area?
I mean, yeah, that's what I would do, totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Protect
Now I know that my government doesn't try to hide anything.
Yeah, so yeah, Chinese government said
Wait, real quick.
there's no laws in Chinese countries for him not going. So
Can I just say something on that real quick, guy?
Go for it.
It's almost as if that would require what you're trying to say, all countries discovering this land at the same time, because you would think one country finds it first, they'll just claim it.
I mean, well, it's not like anyone found it first, right? Someone decided to claim it first.
Well, you should look at the
I'm sure there's
history and how
countries
the
that
U.S.
still don't have the ability to get there.
Pretty sure U.S. found it first.
Yes, of how the U.S. was the first to explore.
Though I have heard a story of Nazis finding it first.
Oh, hold on. Go ahead, Farming, and then person.
Whoever. Oh yeah, go for it.
You can look up the films, Periscope films. They have the old newsreels of the U.S. doing the Operation High Jump was one of them. They did a couple of operations where they sent like dozens and dozens of ships and airplanes and did a mass exploration of Antarctica between 1947 and 1952, I believe.
That was pre-treaty, right?
Correct. The treaty was passed in 1957.
That makes sense. A lot of the times, in the guise of exploration or science or just something totally peaceful or benign, a country may try to transport illegal goods, right? So, for example, with North Korea, a lot of the time what ends up happening is they will attempt to remove some of their missiles from North Korea, sell it to somewhere else. But they will be doing so under the guise of transporting sugar. A lot of times they'd actually end
evidence for that?
Sugar. Yeah, there was one case where we discovered a missile leaving North Korea. Let me find the name of that case.
Who's we? You were part of that crew?
No, I wasn't, but I like to pretend I was, but I'm still just a loser law student.
While you're looking for that, let me read this real quick because it's been a while. Earth is Life super chatted $20. He says, if NASA announced that an asteroid was going to hit the east coast of the United States and your only survival would be to evacuate, would flat Earths heed the warning, or would they not believe it? If NASA told me that grass was green and that I needed to drink water to survive, I would immediately start double checking those facts for myself. Just to be clear on that.
Way to go, Earth is Life.
I would take it as a clue that they're hitting you with something else. It'll be a missile or something.
There's something there to look into.
I just wanted to say on this whole Antarctica thing. So you have a bunch of nation states that sign and ratify this treaty, right? So the rules would apply, like logically, they would apply to the citizens of said nation states, which, signed on to the treaty. Hold on.
No.
Logically, that's what would apply. You wouldn't apply it to other nations that didn't sign it on. That's kind of like some form of, authoritarianism. But anyways, so you would apply these rules to the citizens, like to anyone that's kind of extenuating from those nation states, right? Including the citizens. That means that you're basically laying, that all these nation states are simultaneously governing this area, right? But we know that you can't have taxation without representation. So if these nation states are being paid for by the taxpayer, that means that the taxpayer ultimately should have authority on this land, and they should be able to freely visit the land just like they can in their own country, right?
Can I answer?
So how come we don't have representation? That's the question. Go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, you're doing taxation without representation. That's a U.S. thing, right?
No, that's democracy thing.
No, that's a lot of. That was a saying that came from the U.S., right?
Yeah, sure, but it applies to all democracy. Anyone that's being taxed.
It applies to the democracies, yes. Not all countries are democracies. If we're talking about international treaty, it's not required that you be a democracy to sign one. That's number one. Number two, no, the treaties do not apply to individuals per se. They apply to countries, and the countries are then responsible for enforcing it. If they fail, they are then punished for having done so.
Let me rephrase. It doesn't apply to all democracies. It applies to all governments wherein the citizen is being taxed. Okay? It doesn't make sense to be taxed without representation.
No, I'm sorry.
It's a fascist form of government.
This is incorrect. Whether or not you think it's just or authoritarian or whatever has no effect on what is actually
It's not
happening.
what I think it is. If you're paying money for your government and then you don't have any representation, you're basically being, like, enslaved by your government. It's not whether I think it's moral or not. That's just the fact of the matter.
If I told you that the answer to your statement is yes, that wouldn't change anything about what these treaties are or how they work.
Well, you said something interesting then, human rights violations. You just said that doesn't change what is actually happening. Can you clarify what is actually happening?
What is happening is that countries are signing the treaties and then agreeing to enforce the treaties. Therefore, these treaties don't regulate citizens. They regulate countries, and then the countries, in order to not be found in violation of those rules, they then regulate their own citizens.
So the treaty indirectly regulates the citizen.
Yeah, in violation by who? If they never made the treaty, who would they be violating? Genius.
They'd be violating international law.
He said if they never made the treaty.
International law.
Can you name another treaty?
Who is that?
Similar? Can you name
Who
another
owns
treaty that's similar to the Antarctic Treaty that's been in place for as long and signed on by as many countries and no one's violated it?
You want me to name treaties that haven't been violated? I don't think I'm pretty sure most treaties have been violated. I'm pretty sure of that.
But everyone respects the Antarctic Treaty. No one's violated as far as you know, right?
I would not. You know what kind of like research I'd have to do on that to find out what are the circumstances in which people have violated it.
Of course, people have violated the treaty.
Yeah,
you find
and
it,
there are
but you
other
do find it,
treaties as well.
confirming Ganja's point, this is kind of would you agree that this is an extraordinary treaty of sorts?
What about NATO?
It is only extraordinary insofar as it involves a piece of land that nobody is allowed to claim. We don't have anything nearly that big, It's certainly not involving so many countries being interested in it. Yeah, usually when you have land that no one can claim, it's between 3 or 4 countries, right? The U.S., for example, doesn't have a reason to sign a treaty regarding Central Africa, unless the U.S. is actually claiming land there, right? It is interesting in that regard. However, other than that, there's nothing particularly exceptional about this treaty. Maybe you want to be more specific.
Interestingly, what I find interesting is we know that they have military facilities down there. So the countries are allowed to have military facilities on Antarctica, or they are not allowed, because we know that the U.S. does.
I am unaware that there are such facilities in Antarctica, and I did not catch that part if it was in there.
And here's why I say that.
That would be very interesting to me.
Here's why I say that. There was some Fitbit data that was around. I'll see if I can find a link to this. People wear those Fitbits on their wrist, and you can send the data back and track it and go on a website. People were wearing these in the facilities down in Antarctica and at military bases around the world, and that fact got out, and there were some facilities that were unknown to the general public that were discovered because of this fact. I'll see if I can find the article. It's been a while since I read it.
I have a quick question. Doesn't the moon have a similar treaty?
It wouldn't shock me if the U.S. decided to violate it. The U.S. violates treaties.
No, they didn't. It's just talking about military bases. Personnel can be assigned to a base in Antarctica.
So I got another question. You mentioned, that Antarctica is, the biggest kind of thing where we have treaty, like, international land. And again, I'll repeat what I asked you earlier. What about international waters? Because we have the Geneva Convention on the high seas. That was like 1958, right? And that basically water is a resource. That was one of your criteria, right? Antarctica has resources. Water is a resource, and we can freely. And it's also owned by the entire world. There's this treaty with international waters. So what's the difference between Antarctica and international waters? The latter being something that we can freely, explore, and the former not.
Is it profitable to take fresh water from Antarctica? I'm assuming it's fresh water, right?
Is it profitable to take water and desalinate it from the ocean? What do you what difference is it
Profitable to take fish from the ocean.
It's profitable now a margin for whether something's a resource, whether it's profitable.
So,
A subjective criterion.
Well, listen, when we're talking about, no one is going to go to Antarctica to get salt water and bring it back.
Okay, now you're literally, hold up, you're literally holding the analogies side by side as if they're the same thing when they're analogies, okay?
Thing is that the treaties work so that they can be functional. No one has ever conceived of someone going there just to steal regular old salt water.
What about the fish? Okay.
The fish?
Do fish have value?
Yes,
You
absolutely.
can't fish commercially in
Who said commercially? We want to privately explore Antarctica.
If you're doing that, that will probably be in violation of the treaty.
What's that?
If you were to fish in any way, that would probably be in violation.
If I was to privately fish in international waters, I'd be in violation of the Geneva Convention on the high seas. Is that what you're saying?
No, not on the high seas, but probably within Antarctica, yes, because we're very sensitive.
Again, you're conflating analogies. You're mixing analogies.
You are doing that percent. You're
No,
lying.
the point is you have two areas, both internationally governed, right? And both have resources. Why can I freely explore one and not the other? It's a simple question.
Because we're very sensitive about the Antarctic region. People have a history of wanting to take resources from there. We need to be very.
What kind of people have a history of
You couldn't
fishing?
think of why they wouldn't be able to imagine people going to take salt water, and now you're saying that, you're literally saying two different things, one after another.
Hold on, what history do people have of taking resources from Antarctica?
We have a history of people wanting to claim Antarctica for the resources. We know there's oil down there.
That's not what you said, though. You said we have a history of people taking resources from Antarctica.
I meant to say we have a history of people wanting resources.
How do you know what people want? Are you now somehow omniscient? Do you know everything about what all the countries want?
Countries like oil.
Information, Jesus.
I know countries like oil. I know countries like fish. Countries like freshwater, although I haven't heard of a country literally going by ship to take fresh water from somewhere, but we do have international freshwater laws, so maybe feasibly that could happen. But we like fish, we like precious stones, we like precious metals, we like oil, we love oil. These are things.
We are all freely able to privately explore international waters. How come we cannot privately explore Antarctica? It's the same question, you keep on avoiding it.
She ain't no law student, bro. She trying to be working at the UN and shit, bro. Or
she's sharpening her way of arguing. Arguing about everything but the actual point.
Hold on, too many people talking.
Who are these people talking about?
Can you guys hear me?
Wait.
Different treaties, different stipulations. May I say something, guys? May I say something? Isn't it weird that we actually destroyed the habitat where actually humans live all around us. We fuck up the land. We fuck up everything. But this place in Penguin Land, let's not do anything there, right? Let's destroy our
Where
surroundings.
there's not really much fauna and flora and fauna, so we really have to take care of that place where there isn't anything. But we won't take care of all the other countries, like where the Amazon is and stuff like that, that's got tons of resources. Yeah, you people are backwards. You make no sense.
Give me 2 minutes, guys. Let me close this show down, and then we can go on. Kosho will pick up after I finish this. Thank you very much to everybody on the panel for joining tonight's YouTube show and being a panelist. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I'm going to close the show out. And welcome back, Pete Shea. Pete
Shea.
It's a good big, large dose of Pete Shea tonight. Appreciate you stopping by. And we will be back tomorrow for Friday Night Fights. And I will be recording after the show, just so you know that I usually have the recording on all night, just in case there's anybody that's not aware of that. And thanks again, guys. Anybody who didn't get to speak much during the show want to say anything before I close it out?
I was going to say something, but you said afterwards.
Hey, Brent, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Kool-Aid.
I just want to say thank you for giving us this platform and letting us have these arguments. Even though you and I disagree on many things, I do generally appreciate that.
Blah.
Appreciate that, Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid's my new best friend.
Can I say one more thing?
Whoever made the puke sound, you're gay.
That was Brandon.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rob.
Okay. Level is horizontal. Horizontal is a straight line.
Gotcha.
Keep it flat.
Thanks, guys.
Can I just say one thing that was just factually on my head that I'm sure I heard BioJewel say it earlier, is the medium of space. I've got no evidence that there's anything in the medium of space that can slow down light or refract light or anything like that. Plasma. There we go.
There we go. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching the show tonight. Shout out to the mods. Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate the compliment out there. Good night, PJ. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Chrissy. Good to see you. And George, hope you get everything worked out with your house. Maybe next week we'll do a George show. Except unironically this time. We'll see. Anyway, we'll talk to you later. Thank you, PJ. And yeah, Friday Night Fights. Stop on by. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Understand